Hello, everyone. Welcome to TBI Saturday Night Livestream here with Devlon on Team Bringing Infinity and your host with the most, Jalen.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while.
Now I know you're all probably gonna look at the stream and say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Where's everyone else? Everyone else is everyone else is coming. You'll see them when they come through. They're just coming a little bit late." But without further ado, this week is going to be on the evaluation of worlds, and we mean worlds. We do not, for once, mean the WCQs. We mean the worlds of Buddy Fight, as in Katana World, Dragon World, and so on and so forth. As of Set 5, of course, there are about 8 worlds. We have Darkest
Um,
Dragon World, Danger World, Legend World, Katana World, Magic World. Um, Actually, then there might be about 7, 6.
I think.
Hold on.
Hold on. Let me go in order.
There's
Dragon, Danger,
Dragon, Danger,
Katana,
Magic,
Katana,
Katana, Dungeon,
Dungeon, Dark.
Legend, Darkness Dragon World. 7 worlds.
Oh, Ancient.
Ancient, I forget they exist.
Oh man,
I try and forget about Ancient World.
they got the least.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But yes, there are 8 worlds. Actually was right. Who would
Wow.
figure?
No, Jalen.
So we'll be
Half. Because that half is Hero World because of the Buddy Rare.
they don't have a flag. They're not a world. Don't have a flag yet. We were going Set 5. We didn't do anything yet. Fuck that.
True.
So I know this seems a bit disappointing that there's only 2 of us as of so far, but trust me, there are going to be more guests on in a matter of time. Just give it a few moments. But either way, we will start our own little dynamic of the dynamic duo here. I know this must be pretty awkward to look at.
Warning.
I mean, Devon's not on. Devon's not his own as me and Joey or anything like that. But Devon's just as important. There's no TBI member more important than another.
Yeah, that's
So if
true.
you guys don't recognize Devon, it's just that you don't see him often. But he's just as important as all of us here.
Hey guys, why not do this? Why not do the screen share, huh? Why not? I'm holding a phone and I'm chilling.
Yes, Devlon is using his phone for the Hangouts, but that is not the matter. The matter is we are going to talk about the world, and also we will be doing a Q&A session. So if you have any questions for us throughout the entire live stream, you are allowed to ask any question. We shall answer them regarding to a world, Buddy Fight, content coming up on the channel, or so on and so forth. And we shall also be or at least I shall also be doing it until like maybe our guests start showing up here. Survivor matches on the Buddy Fight Simulator. If you do not know, I will screen share momentarily the Buddy Fight Simulator.
Oh man, now I gotta get up, go to my computer, and turn it on. Oh.
No. You probably don't have to do that, man. I'll handle the matches because I know it's annoying for you to try and use your computer.
Nah, it's just in case somebody wants to like challenge me or something.
Understandable.
Actually, you know what? I have a limited time because my phone battery runs quickly while I'm in the Hangouts. I'm at limited time only.
So basically, I think the first world we want to talk about, we're not going to go in order. We're going to try and go from the least amount of support to the greatest amount of support. So if you don't know what that means, we're going with Ancient World first and Dragon World last.
Yeah, Dragon World is always going to be last when it comes from least to most.
And we mean evaluation. We're not going to go over every single card or something like that. We're going over what the world has to offer in general, as in the archetypes of the deck, such as Dragon World would have Dragon Knights, Armored Dragons, Thunder Knights, Blue Sky Knights, Jackknife, so on and so forth of the many decks in Dragon World. But we won't be individually evaluating those either. We're just saying if if these decks all together help out Dragon World in any general way, or even if they just like contribute Dragon World being
True.
worth becoming a good world.
True. And warning, my opinion might be a little off for what you think should be the opinion of each world.
Well, these are all highly opinionated, even if this is a experienced, non-experienced kind of way of us showing um our knowledge of the game in any way. This is still just our knowledge that we've gained from the game. That doesn't mean it will be exactly the same as anyone else's or the same ideals as anyone else.
True. So
But
basically,
we'll
no
be
wrong.
doing our
Just
best to try and to not sound as biased as most players would be when it comes to evaluating anything like based on their own personal experience with a deck or personal prowess of a deck.
yeah, I'm gonna get my personal reasons out the way and just go with what I think based on what I see.
All right, so we shall start Ancient World. But before I do so, I'm going to start screen sharing on the Buddy Fight Simulator. If you guys please would put down your names on the Buddy Fight Simulator that I'm about to show.
Mm.
Ooh, that's my Facebook. Um,
Ooh.
the Buddy Fight Simulator. My alias is Rage Deity, one word, and Deity is lowercase. If you want to face me, please use this simulator right here. Oh, and I am not presenting to everyone, so this is not as pleasing to the eyes. Now I am presenting.
There it is. See it.
So remember, if you want to battle me, for the time being, please just put down your sim name in the comment section, in the chat below, and I shall face you as soon as possible.
And if you want to face me, my name is
But
Red27.
yes. So now, so now let's get on to the evaluation of Ancient World, since this will probably be the easiest thing. Okay. Ancient World is a size 3 oriented deck that has very, very minimal supports that makes it anywhere near viable. Basically,
If you don't
what
have
they
it,
always had is Extra Booster 1 and a
promos.
bunch of promos going
Promos.
all around. I think every promo pack has an Ancient World promo, except I think
True.
promo pack 1.
True.
So
Only,
pretty much, Ancient World is a very, very limited source of, well, um, just not. I don't know how to word this. Like, this is just like the most undersupported world. And yes, this is after Set 5 is released. We are basing our evaluate. What do you think will be the best deck after Set 5's release? From
hmm.
Brian.
Now
That is a
that's
very difficult question because we have not been able to. We do not have access to these cards. But from what our personal evaluation cards we've done, actually, if you've seen our um Set 5 breakdown live stream, you would know that basically we have been. I mean I would think in my personal opinion that a certain Dragon Ball deck would probably be in order. I cannot decide between either the Death Ruler deck after getting a bunch of nice little tidbits of updates that they needed, or it could be Purgatory Knights basically being the new Dragon World Thunder Knights that have just better synergy with each other and better ways to interact with its entire field, drop zone, and deck more than even Thunder Knights could.
basically a more rush version of Thunder Knights. Hey, it's Justin.
Yes, with a bit more power, but a bit less defense when it comes to,
True.
everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and speaking of a guest jumping in, we have Justin, a loyal subscriber of Team Burning Infinity for a while. How you doing, Justin?
Fine, you.
Good. You have a happy New Year so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Justin,
What?
it says been
Oh, for a little bit.
Alright,
But
so
but my evaluation would be that Purgatory Knights is going to be the top deck. Maybe it could be Death Ruler. I'm really conflicted between those two decks. Devlon, what are your opinions of after set 5? What do you
My
think will be
opinion,
this deck?
my opinion is that Death Rulers have some good support. They got Death Ruler Mastermind and a bunch of other stuff. And Purgatory Knights came out really awesome. Like everything's like gauge like a couple of games. So it's gauge cheap compared with rulers. Rulers do have the rush variant as well as Purgatory Knights. So honestly, between those two, I really don't know. I will have to give it to Purgatory Knights a little bit because they have a lot. They have a good set spell that gives them gauge. They have a good spell that basically returns two of them from the drop to your hand at any time you want. Not like Black Revenger, and they got a lot of new good stuff they can do.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I am just currently in the middle of something. Don't mind me. Um,
But you got my evaluation right.
yes. But after your question, now we can go back to Ancient World. Ancient World is very limited in terms of the support they have. Hmm? Sorry, what was it, Justin?
About Ancient World.
Yes.
The spell, the size 3 searcher is pretty good, but other than that, it's still a stable deck.
Ancient World has not been known to be a good standalone world. The only support, the only purpose this deck has ever shown is to basically combat anything that's a rush deck at the moment. Currently, the decks that have the most trouble with this are usually Dungeon World and some variants of Dragon World, which could be like Thunder Knights. But there's a huge problem when it comes to either of these decks. Seeger is also answered very easily by a few cards, such as Twin Blade's Drago Anthem allowing them to double attack and basically get rid of the 2 soul from Seeker quite easily in Dragon World if you played in a Thunder Knights deck. And then basically when it comes to Dungeon World, they have Rolling Stone, they have Meteor Rain, and other cards they can possibly side in to deal with Seeger anyway. So Seeger is not that much of a huge problem. And also a problem with Seeger is that you are reliant on the forms. I usually would say, hey, if you could, don't run the forms because I don't think they're. I mean, at least don't run Tempest Enforcer because Tempest Enforcer, in my opinion, is not the greatest card because it is completely relying on 2 things happening before you could even use it, and it still needs a gauge requirement just to call it. I don't really find that card very useful, but it is a great endgamer if you can get it off. So it has its own purposes, but I am not really fond of it.
That's true.
All I can say,
It'd be a problem for weak worlds like Magic, Katana, and Dungeon.
nah, but Magic and Katana, Seeger. Like if you're playing Wizard, you can play Magic and
Yeah.
rid of the souls easily. If you're playing Katana, you can Snake Gaze the Seeker, preventing them from attacking you, giving you a chance to get rid of soul. And if
Also, Seeger has a hard time dealing with Art of Body Replacement. Art of Body Replacement in most matchups could actually be counteracted, but in a Seeger matchup, it's impossible for them to get around it. The only way they can possibly deal with the Art of Body Replacement is through such a card as Demonica, which is their size 2, which is basically a Abracadabra slash Fang Dragon Declaration clone. Fang Dragon Declaration's cost, but it does work like an Abracadabra. So it does have its merits and it does have its inconsistencies with the deck, but it's still a decent spell, no.
Tyrant is basically a Fang Dragon Declaration.
at the same time, Dragon Ball can kind of more get support in step 5 than can also hit Seeger head on without any link attacks.
And also, set 5 does come with a card that is an Oops clone. If you do not know what Oops is, it's pay to gauge, and you return a monster, item, or set spell to the owner's hand. So you can basically, if there's no if a Seeger if you get to a Seeger with no soul on the field, then you can basically bounce it back to their hand. They do not have much of a response, and they will take the lifelink 5, and they're left wide open for any attack, and they can never block you because Ancient World's biggest problem is that once there is no size 3, you have no game plan. You have
Or
to have a size.
Basically, any world could just swing in at you if you don't have a size 3 without any problems of the
or if
dragon.
you just took
The
out
dragon
Spartan and they took out
battle force
Enforcer,
full clone.
then when Enforcer comes out, then you use the Oops clone and you win automatically.
That too.
Exactly.
That too. They
There are
basically
many problems with a Seeger deck because it's very size 3 oriented. The one major factor is that you have to draw into this. Even though Danger World does have a very great amount of draw support, such as Divine Dragon Creation, arguably probably a great nice one. But
are
not that, or Dragon Emperor Legend, and cards such as Makings of a Great Dragon, as Devlon just suggested. Thank you. It is, which is basically a size 3 searcher, which costs you 2 life. Now, the problem I have with Ancient World is that it does have the life gain to try and sustain itself. It's just that these cards alone won't save you in a game. You have, I mean, if you don't have a form, which you have to draw into, which is multiple ways of drawing into, aka Makings of a Great Dragon, to draw support, as I said, and the form itself. So it is possible, but if you do get unlucky, you are in the worst situation possible because you have no way of defending yourself, and your opponent can freely do whatever the hell they want against you because Ancient World itself does not sustain itself without any size 3. But overall, but enough of the flaws about Ancient World. Ancient World does have its own merits that make it pretty good. Ancient World does have a really, really good defensive strategy. The defensive strategy is unlike any other decks, with cards such as Wrath Trigger, which allows you to remain on field, get counterattack, and you don't need kind of any stat boost because your size 3 already has enough power. You'll be able to destroy a monster guaranteed, and it remains on field, and you don't have to lose soul for your soul guard.
and because your Seeger forms are already strong in power and defense, and if your opponent doesn't reach that certain number, they can go for Dragon Outlaw to counterattack your monster since it's a Draco Energy clone.
And a very nice tidbit you can know about Dragon Emperor Legend. No, not Dragon Emperor Legend. Dragon Outlaw. Dragon Outlaw, just like any other Dragon Energy clone, if used correctly, you can basically get rid of any you can get rid of any monster even if they link attack and you still have a card in Soul, because Soul Guard does work in a way where counterattack does benefit it. Say this is the situation. Say I have a Death Dragon, Death Gains Dragon, and I have an Evil Death Scythe. And I link attack with both of them at Seeger. Even though I do have one soul and they attack for 10,000, and I go for a Dragon Outlaw, as soon as I use Soul Guard and live on the field, even though I am destroyed and I will take the damage from both Spectre Strike being 3 damage, you will be allowed to use counterattack and you're able to destroy the Death Gaze because you did remain on field, so therefore you met the requirement for counterattack, which is a really, really good thing. This works with any counterattack card. As long as your attack is higher than their defense after the card remains on field, it will work. So this can even work with size 3s with weak defense, and as long as they have Soul Guard, you can keep them on field. And if they don't normally have Soul Guard, I say run with Buddy, because that card will give them Soul Guard.
Well, as long as you, I know if your opponent's at 4 or less, slow painfall can hit through.
Yes, that is true, but
Because you
since
don't
Ancient World is
have
not
much
as susceptible to most impacts do have a requirement of your opponent either not having a censor or your opponent has to have like no monsters or something of the
really
sort.
specific
Most of the viable
conditions.
impacts are most of the viable impacts used nowadays are not are very counteracted by Ancient World's playstyle. The only ones that aren't usually counteracted are the Secret Swords of Katana World and Dead End Crush of Dungeon World for Dungeon Mix or Dungeon Adventures.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Now, even though we've been talking only about Seeger, there is another side to Ancient World. There is Wild Dragons. Wild Dragons alone are a shit deck. I cannot stress this enough because I'm not even trying to bash them. Literally, I will explain what Wild Dragons is. Lattice support. Lattice the Tyrant support. Dimensional
Basically.
Dragon, I don't remember his full name, but Lattice the Tyrant is the only true Wild Dragon. Everything else that's a Wild Dragon in Ancient World as of now is completely a vanilla. They don't have any effects. They have lifelink though, some of them, and they don't do anything on the field. They don't do anything in your hand. They're all just dead cards. They were all just designed to be Lattice's fodder bait for his ability, which is just a really bad design. At least make these cards useful, or another secondary Wild Dragon um size 3 you can use. But Lattice the Tyrant just doesn't sustain itself. And also, unlike Seeger, who has 7,000 defense, so he does get around practically all the removal in the game that's counter removal. But the thing about Lattice is he's got 6,000 defense, the same call cost, no soul guard, but he has two useful abilities, but it doesn't help when it comes to this fact. Say someone is playing Dungeon World and they Purifier, and then they purify your Lattice to Tyrant. This is the only card this is the only way that they can destroy Lattice without having to attack it. But it annoys the Lattice player more because either they don't have to use a Demonica to they're gonna have to use Demonica and pay to gauge to stop it. They're gonna have to pay to gauge and a Wild Dragon in their hand to use Lattice's ability, or they're going to have to use Wrath Trigger, which is a gauge and a life, just to keep the Lattice on board. And that's still before their attack phase. So once you get into the attack phase, you're probably gonna run out of cards to
Yeah.
defend yourself. You do have a Bold Dragon, which is a Dragon Energy clone, but that doesn't help so much in this situation.
That's true.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Now, Lattice the Tyrant decks are basically all Lattice the Tyrant. Now, Seeger's problem was that you need the base forms to even get out the other
Mhm.
forms, which is already a bad enough problem because that makes more space in your deck less available, and you have to draw it in base form before any other cards are useful. Lattice, I think, is even worse because you do have more space, but what do you even fill it with? Fill it with counter removal? Fill it with the impact? What are you gonna do? There's not much to go with because
Not
everything
really.
else in your deck is basically garbage compared to your only play being Lattice. So you need Mix of a Great Dragon to get draw into. You have to draw into Lattice, or you have to draw into the draw power of the deck. You're out of these, you're shit out of luck. And this deck, even though they do have pretty high critical and pretty decent stats for
Uh,
vanilla monsters, they still have lifelink, and you can't defend yourself from any of the attacks. So it is nearly impossible to defend yourself after they've gotten rid of any of your monsters on board.
at my locals, I seen a Tyrant deck actually do good.
Ooh,
It's
He was
possible.
a yeah. He won the game due to Tyrant's effect to nullify the spell.
nice.
Yes, because Tyrant is a walking spell negator, so you don't even have. So you can even go for like those kind of. And he does have double attack and three critical. Yes, he has a more pressure based. He's the more offensive version of a ancient world deck, which is normally defensive, which does sound like a great idea in retrospect. But the fact that he's more removable, so that can bait out his ability, and you don't have the endless resources to keep having wild dragons in hand, because the only wild dragon like cards are Lattice, Bow Dragon, and the vanillas, and the vanillas are all vanillas. Once you don't have a Lattice out, you're just stuck with all these random cards that don't do anything for you.
Hmm.
Um, so
Unless you
if
try to
I had to
stall out
give
or
my
something.
evaluation on Ancient World, if I'm going from scale, and we're going to be doing the evaluations from scale from 1 to 10, I would go with a 6.5 for Ancient World.
I just say 6.
6. Well, for Tyrants I say 4.
Tyrant, I say 3.5.
I was saying ancient world in general, but yes, you can have your own individual um ideas for what if you think of the ancient world decks in individual ways. On next, we have the next under-supported world, and that would primarily be Dungeon World.
It doesn't need support.
Dungeon, it
He's
doesn't
right.
need it. Well, yes, it does.
Next
It has
world needs
problems.
support.
No, no, no. We're not skipping an entire world. We're going over all 8.
Justin, we gotta go through all of them. Gotta deal with it.
Dungeon World. Everyone's calling it Uber tier, God tier, whatever you want to call it. This deck, in general, is
It is.
being noted as the best deck in Buddy Fight. It's not. You can shut your
So
mouth.
far.
It's not because
It's not
I can
because
underhand take
okay, okay. Everyone thinks that just because FAP is a card, the mission cards are a card, Tetsui is a card, Glow Seeker is a card, and Brave Drum are cards. Yes, these are all great. I will not lie. I'm not gonna say these cards are bad. These cards don't do this. These cards don't do that. They're great. But the thing is, the deck as a whole has way too many problems.
Like,
I've done this in pros and cons. Dungeon Mix is the best deck as of set for meta still. Maybe even Thunder Knights can the word is I don't remember. I'm just drawing a blank here, but it tramples. Okay, Thunder Knights can trample
obviously.
over Dungeon Mix at
It's
moments,
Dragon
and
World, of
it's kind of
course.
a back and forth thing. Dragon World's last. You can save that for later. But what I'm saying now is Dungeon Mix does have its weaknesses that you're easy it's easy to adapt to those weaknesses. One, they have a gauge problem, and that's Dungeon World's problem in general. Dungeon Mix cannot sustain gauge to defend themselves. They have to use it for their nullifiers, but they also have to use it for their plays. They have You can
That's what
play
Orchard
around
Klein
their
is
mission
for.
cards, such as Nuts and Rots and Hot Springs. Once
Orchard
that is
Klein.
wasted, Orsa Kleins will not fix their problem. One, he's removable by Dragon Breath, such as, and other most removal from most worlds now, like Dart of Dragon World, Death Grip, and other cards and other Total Fires. So he is removable through most worlds, but he is a great card. But he gets you one gauge in a draw. Now that's a great effect, but nonetheless, he doesn't do anything as a size 2. As a size 2, he's pretty much covering up your field for any other card you would rather call, like a Bladewing Phoenix or a Brave Drum. Or if you're going that route, you can run Baku, Craftsman Baku, or Silver Warrior Quen's Way. These cards
Tasuku.
are all. Tasuku's a size 1, and Tasuku's way too much of an investment.
I
He's a
know.
one of. Now, the one interesting fact about this deck is because since it has more consistency than any other deck in all of the world, because it has the ability to search out any basic adventure card you want in your hand, you can run one ofs. Other decks shouldn't be doing this, and the reason why is because one ofs will not show up as much. The easy thing about Dungeon Mix is because you don't care if it
Fat.
shows up or not. It's when
Fat
when you want it to show up, it can show up because you can search it.
You just keep tapping.
for free, may I add. You can search it for free.
Well, it's not free because the other mission cards, except for FAP itself, do cost a gauge to set. So they will cost you something in the end.
True.
Even though FAP does give you a life in another card, it does have its own problems. Like I've explained before when I did a card review on FAP, once you nullify the set spell, then you've pretty much left their FAP on the board, and they can either activate another one and then go on -2 in their hand, or they could just sit there with a card that did nothing, so they went -2 anyway. Either way, it's a bad play for them to either even activate another mission card unless they're going for game, or they just wasted 2 cards in their hand and neither of them did anything. So there are ways to play around this deck. It's just that you have to know. And since everyone knows this deck, not everyone should have an excuse for why it's easy to beat you. If you know what this deck does, what they normally run, and such on and so forth, you can easily predict their plays and start playing your field around them. So Dungeon Mix, as much as it has all this amazing support to make it stupid, like Shielavana, Continue, and Orsa Kleins, these decks do have their flaws that make them easy to beat. I mean, I use dungeon enemies. and I'm working on a dungeon mix deck. Boo! No, it's not mix as in the adventure mission card crap. I'm running it enemy based, as in it is primarily enemies. It is mostly enemies. There are a few adventures. Either way, this dungeon mix does have good support to make it to make it just worth all the risks that it even takes. But it does have its flaws, as in even the simplest deck like Danger World can even outclass it in terms of like damage and such.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The only problem is the gauge.
Yeah.
No, they have a huge problem with dealing with a 7,000 wall. Once you hit the set, I mean not 7,000. If you hit above 7,000, they start struggling. If there's an 8,000 defense wall, they start struggling with their field because you can either
Really.
most likely block it in the world that you're most likely using it in, or they're going to not be able to use Tetsuya effectively. And if they can't use Tetsuya, they're not doing their plays right. And they're not doing their plays right, they're losing advantage.
And some decks actually play
True.
size threes that have that 8,000 defensive wall.
Hmm.
So the thing about Dungeon Mix, it's all about how you play against it, and of course card and other bunch of things. But cards in your hand do come into factor, of course, where it's depending on what you have drawn. If you did not draw a good hand, then you're kind of in a shit position. But if you drew a decent enough hand where you can play around, then like do a bunch of different things with it, like a little versatile hand, you can deal with Dungeon Mix quite easily. Dungeon Mix is nowhere near a god tier deck. It is a bit above its time. It is a bit ahead of its time when it came out, as in a deck that can search out a card from deck that wasn't Jackknife, like calling them on top, and you add them to your hand instead, and it gets you a life. But this deck still has its flaws, like any other deck that can hinder it more than other decks. Now, if we can finally get off the topic of Dungeon Mix, every time we have to bring up Dungeon World.
Thank
Now,
you.
I want to move on to Dungeon Adventures. Dungeon Adventures is a pure deck, are pure. I don't want to say hindrance, but it kind of is. The entire deck is a huge hindrance on itself because they are not able to sustain themselves without the Dungeon Mix support. And what I mean by this is Dungeon Mix support pretty much balanced out what was a bit wrong with Dungeon Adventure as a whole, because Dungeon Adventure's options for monster lineups are just bad. Once you've gotten down and got rid of Tasuke and got rid of the obvious ones, Tsuku, Drum, Tetsuya, and so on and so forth, what do you have? You have a move monster with surprisingly decent stats, but not worth writing home about. 425 move, size 2, but your size 2s are where it's at, other than Tetsu, other than like needing a size 1 like Tetsuya. And then you have Strober, which is a 422 vanilla.
Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that adventurers don't even have size zeros. All the size
Nope.
zeros come straight from the enemy side.
Yeah.
Yes, there is no size 0, so pretty much you're limited to a field of a size of 3 size 1s, a size 2, and a size 1. Or in like basically Gal formation decks, this is all you can ever run in Dungeon
Oh,
Adventure,
speaking
Dungeon
his
Mix,
name.
basically even too. There's just problems with like adventures as a pure deck. They do have Paruko, which is a really, really good card, allowing you to look in your opponent's hand, which is a promo. Um, but Paruko does cost a gauge to call, and she's just the same stats as Strober. Strober was not played because of his stats, and he has nothing to contribute to the deck. Now she may be a gauge, she may be a simple one gauge, and she does allow you to get some information on your opponent. But the problem with her is that one gauge does matter in adventures because it's not Ursula Klein's mixed bullshit or whatever you want to call it. It's just that you don't have the stuff to sustain a gauge, and I don't recommend Dangerous Fuse because it only works in enemy decks, like pure enemy decks, because they just don't work in other decks because they want cards in hand more than they need the gauge. Even if they want the gauge for something else, they don't have use for it because they don't spend it like enemies do, and it just comes down to not needing it.
And one thing I want to point out is they have like Dungeon Adventurers purely have less damage output than Dungeon Mix because you don't have cards like Blade Wing Phoenix, Sheila Vanna,
Slavana.
Giovanni, yeah. You don't have Orsa clients to give you your draws or anything, so they're more limited to their damage output than Dungeon Mix. The best thing you got is
I wouldn't
Tetsuya.
say primarily that. I mean, they do have it, and it's an adventure, so they can link it with Tetsuya.
True, true.
Their damage output is quite similar to a pure enemy deck. In some ways, it could be a little bit better because they do have more 3-card cards. I mean, they have Quenzway, they have Brave Drum, and they have Glory Seeker. And then they still have options such as even the Dragon Vanquishing Sword they have. It has 3 critical and 4,000 power, even though it may cost 2 gauge, I presume. I'm pretty sure it's 2 gauge,
Yeah.
but it is 4,000 power and is relying on a dragon so it can gain its gained ability where you gain plus 4,000, but you don't have to even bind that. You can just play it for the simple 3 crit if you don't have a Glory Seeker in hand. So there is a problem with adventures, as in their lineup is very, very limited, but they still are a very, very good deck because Tetsuya is just like carrying the deck on his back. He's like, hey guys, you want to go to top tier? I got this.
OP.
Now, let's not forget
Yeah.
about Tetsuku.
Well, Tsuku is a pretty great card, but he kills himself the end phase, and right now, the only deck that Tsuku helps against is Seeger. And Seeger's not when you have Rolling Stone and size 3s deciding against him.
True, that's true.
But definitely, nonetheless, a still good one of, or even two of, since you do have the space in this kind of deck.
Yeah.
Alright, now we get on to Dungeon Enemies. Dungeon Enemies are by far one of my favorite decks of Buddy Fight. And I'm not going to be biased here. I'm not going to say, like I usually joke around with, yeah, this deck's awesome. This deck is just pure god. No, it's honestly probably my most underwhelming deck. Even though I've played it more than my Darkest Dragon World deck because it's been out longer and I've played with it longer, it just has more problems than my Darkest Dragon World deck. Like I've said before, it has a gauge issue. Now, at least adventures can sometimes conserve the gauge. Enemies cannot. Every single one of your plays will most likely cost a gauge. Call a Nade costs gauge. Call Bladewing Phoenix costs gauge. Want to equip a Dominion Rod costs gauge. You want to search a Dominion Rod? That's an evil break. You have to cost the gauge. There's just so many problems with the gauge, and you don't have gauge acceleration to go with it. One gauge Demon in Perfect Pack would be such a great card to have, but he's not out yet, so there's no way to fix this problem. Dangerous Fuse is the only way to try and fix this problem, and then just doesn't help because it's
Or
completely
the
reliant if your
footprint
opponent puts
monster.
it in your hand or your gauge.
We don't have
And
Smile
even like
Japanese promo.
even so, Smile Charm doesn't even fix the problem because it's a spell waste. It's a wasteful spell. I might not need the life because Shaosan already helps me with my life, and then I don't really care for the simple 1 gauge of a minus card in my hand. Like that altogether, the card's a huge 1-for-1, but I'd rather have like a monster that does the job better, and I don't need to care about the life.
Yeah, that's true.
But dungeon enemies do have a really decent damage output and a really good set spell. Demon Lord's Dungeon allowing a size 1 or less dungeon enemy to come back from your drop at the beginning of every turn is just absolutely great. All you need is a Demon Lord on field, and it just costs nothing to set. And you can have multiple of these on field. So if you have like an idea like I did, but I didn't go through with it because I think it was a bit too inconsistent, running a size 1 rush deck somehow with this deck would be very effective because pretty much you have an endless size 1 rush because all you have to do is call 3 size 1s, have 3 of these set, and then your field will never die.
And it gives you the option to keep the card or not because it happens during your draw.
Yep.
Actually, it happens before your draw. When you stand, that's when it starts because when you initiate stand. That's when you initiate the start of your turn, and that's when it activates. Now, enemies do have a problem with dealing with a lot more pressure. Like I said, they need gauge for offensive and defensive plays, so you have to be a lot. Like you really have to be conservative when you really don't want to most of the time. Like you could go for say like an 8 damage crit push, but with a Bladewing Phoenix, a Dominion Rod, and a Dox Kobo, or a Mamashima Kobo. But the problem is you already paid probably a gauge for the Dominion Rod that turn, and even if you charge and drew, you need 2 gauge. So if you put yourself down to 1 gauge, they know you can only block one attack that turn. But you really want to get off that damage just in case. So you're kind of stuck yourself what you think they can possibly have in their hand, and then you have to start playing a little mind games of thinking, hey, maybe they could have this, depending on the cards in your hand and how many they will most likely play. They could be drawing into this. You get into a lot of things you don't want to probably think about, but you're gonna have to if you want to come out on victorious.
Yeah, but a lot of time you want to conserve your gauge for also defensive cards like Pillar of Fire and Shosana, because if you're facing like a rush deck that can easily knock you down, you're gonna need those cards.
So an overall view of Dungeon World as a whole, eight
I say
Broken. 10 out of 10 ban
out of
list.
10.
I say
No,
8.
we're not
I say
getting a ban list in this game, and I hope not.
no. I say 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, they have so
All
many
right,
good.
now we move. Now we move on to the next world.
Danger World.
Anyone from knowledge? Yes, you got it already because you already know this deck.
Yeah,
Now
well,
we have Armor Knights. Armor Knights. Okay, wait. We're not gonna count pure Armor Knights anymore. Okay, we have Armor Knights Ace, Dual Dragon. We have Armor Knights Ace, Dual Dragons, and Hybrid. Hybrid is not
Dual
talked about
dragons for the
a
win.
lot, so you'll be last.
yeah, hybrid is not talked about. I barely know about hybrid.
Hybrid's been used there and then. It's topped a few times. It's not bad. Either way, Devlon, would you like to do Dual Dragons?
When I started with Ace, because it's more important in other people's heads.
I'm sorry, did Ace top yet? Still hasn't topped.
Nope.
Oh, man, you're right. Alright, so Dual Dragons. Well, I'm gonna go to some of the good things first, and then I'm going to say stuff about it later. Some of the good things about Dual Dragons, you have that high damage output. Dual Dragons, as you can see, are a bunch of 2 crits and 3 crit monsters. Like, for example, you got Gorga, which is a free size 1/3 crit monster. You have size 3s like Gaio Khan, which I believe is a 4 crit monster. Yeah, it's a 4 crit
Bad.
monster. And you have Raging Dragon Garrus, which is a 3 crit monster as well. And you have Raging Dragon Zold and stuff like that. So it has really good damage output, and this deck cannot be walled. Even if you have Seeger, you're not walling us. We have really good power when it comes to attack power and stuff.
Dual law.
Yeah, pretty.
Dual Law is booty. Dual Law is booty. Saying that right now. Dual Law only works with Gale Khan, Zagaris, or however you pronounce the bird, the
Zagaris.
Zagaris, the fucking Thunderbird that came out in EBO 2.
No, Jayla, you call it Thunderbird on crack. That's what it is.
Either way, that card, Gale Khan, and Arc Giraffe are like the only effective cards to use that with. And even
Or the
so,
vanilla.
your opponent can play around it.
Yeah, your opponent can pretty much play around it now these days. So no dual law. Well, for my deck, I should say. If you want to play it, go ahead.
If you play a
But
Dual
yeah,
Law base deck, kudos to you, but don't use it.
yeah. So yeah, we have a lot of good power. We can't be easily walled and stuff like that. So, and we have a lot of pressure too. Like we have cards like Art Giraffe, which basically double attacks. You probably kill your whole field or going for 4 crit damage. So, like I said, damage output. We got a lot of pressure and stuff like that. And
Of course, this is danger what we're talking about. So this is weapon based. So you have Rick Dow Demon Slay slashing your opponent's fucking field apart with its 3 critical and 6,000 power.
I mean, if you don't want to slash into your opponent, you can just kill a monster on the side or something. Probably a threatening monster like Bladewing Phoenix or the new double attack ninja from set 5, which we don't even want to talk about that right now. Or some other
But
double
Rick
attackers.
Dow Demon Slay's prowess in Danger World as of now is so perfect that it's kind of being considered. I would consider it being one of the best cards in Danger World. Just simply having a simple equip cost to pay 1 gauge, and then you can't call a card to center, which is not bad of a condition to have such a very, very powerful weapon. Then again, why would you want to block this weapon from attacking anything? It can take out just about anything by itself.
I mean, and another thing I want to add is what was I gonna add? It's basically the best weapon in Danger World. If you want more
For
damage
now.
If you want more damage output for weapons, you can play Demonic Spear, Swirling Darkness for all I care. I mean, I play it too, so Hysteric Spear is outclassed now because nobody plays stuff in the center anymore.
No, 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 no.
Except
The
Kiri.
Hysteric Spear is outclassed because it costs way too much gauge for the deck to be conservative. It doesn't help with Danger will need to be conservative with gauge more now. So it's just not the fitting weapon. Besides, like 3 critical is just great.
True. And basically, our average crit damage field with a Gal formation ranges from ranges from 7 to 10. And when I say
That's
10,
if it's a full field. If you get unlucky, even if you do go like, oh, I only have 1 monster, okay, then it's probably somewhere around even 5 to even 8.
yeah,
Or
so,
even 9 actually. If you're if say like you have a rigged out Demon Slayer, then the one monster in your hand is an Arc Giraffe. Well, pay 2 gauge, call that down, then you go for 9 damage.
yeah,
I
legit.
mean 7. Why did I say 7? Why did I say 9? 7.
Basically, have a Arch Giraffe plus a 3 crit size 1 plus a 3 crit weapon. If your opponent cannot nullify any of the attacks, that's an OTK field right there. That's all I can say.
Yo, Korga.
Yo,
Yeah, that's what
Korga
I'm
too strong.
Oh man. And the deck
But
also has good defensive capabilities.
oh my goodness, I cannot believe. Okay, I have to do this. You just like trying to hide it or something. Demon go to Arc.
That's
It's
basically
like you're trying
Dropped
to like
his.
lead these people in the dark. Demon go to Arc, best fucking Go Dragon in existence. I'm
yeah.
not even trying to toot its own horn. It's just a simple pay through. It does have a what I consider one of the heaviest call calls I've ever seen in Danger World, next to Bahamut.
But it's worth it. It's an eighth gauge. You're on top of a Gold Dragon. All attacks that your opponent make, you have to automatically target Demon Good Orc himself, even if he's on the side. So,
Counterattack.
and he has Soul Guard and counterattack. So if you attack with a monster, you're getting attacked back.
He
And
has 7/2/4 stats, and he has an ability where if a card attacks, or I think it was when a weapon attacks, you can discard any card in your hand. Okay, yes, it is a weapon attack. Sorry, if a weapon attacks, which it will of course be directed to this anyway. If a weapon attacks, period, you can just discard any card you freaking want in your hand, and bam, a weapon is gone. Most decks are like, I have to pay a gauge. I can't use it during your turn. I can't do this. I can't do that. This card says, well, your weapon is fucked.
and actually,
Any weapon except Ritter is absolutely busted, torn to pieces, ripped down to its bare fucking metal when this card just comes into play. You can't attack with your weapon, or if essentially you're allowing them to just get rid of it. You're saying, oh, I'll bait a card out their hand. You're not baiting anything. All you're doing is fueling their drop zone so they can call their very powerful size one, as he said, Raging Dragon Zald. So you're just fueling their drop zone so they can go for even higher crit fields and still be defensive at the same time.
if you clear the field, that's fine. We'll just drop Raging Dragon Zagaris and just say, I just dropped him. I'm just gonna swing him for 3 crit. Oh yeah, and I have a weapon that's 3 crit as well. So 6 crit damage if you can't block it. So
And the biggest taboo that I've always talked about when I talked about Armor Knights the first time is that they did not have any monster protection. Zero, none, zilch,
None.
booty. But they have one of the now most broken protection spells in the entire game. We have Demon Slay Barrier, where it allows, if you do not have a monster in the center, you are allowed to protect any single card on your field and prevent it from being destroyed.
So basically,
Or,
Demon Good Arc does not. If you have Demon Slay Barrier, you can basically say Demon Good Arc from cards like Pillar of Fire or Death Grip or other cards.
This just allows you to play around everything your opponent could have for a response. And even if this is going against your weapon, they paid 2 gauge to activate Cecilia Spell, Disarm, or Dragon Crush. You can instantly go for this card. It costs you nothing except
Free
one card in
cost.
your hand, which is itself, and then bam, that was basically stopped. They wasted 2 gauge. You used the card in your hand. They used the card in their hand in 2 gauge. What's the downside? None. And this is so perfect because of Rick Dow Demon Slayer. You can't call to any card in the center when this card is equipped anyway. So it's just the perfect condition for Demon Slay Barrier for being such a free card.
Yeah. And may I point out, all the new Demon Slayers that came out, you can't have a monster in the center to play them all. So basically, Rick Down Demon Slayer and the Demon Slayer cards basically works with Danger World because Danger World likes to keep an open center most of the time. Unless
Yeah,
you're
it's like Bushiroad said, hey, hit their face, they can't stop it.
unless you're those
Because all we did is keep them have at 1 null, we give you half a null, and then you have lots of life gain.
yeah, basically.
By the way, Invigorating Breath is booty, just run Demon Slay Resurrection.
Took you a while.
True facts, true facts.
Like, you're at 6 or less life, you're back to 10, 1 gauge. Simple as that. Why do you need to activate this when you're at 10 life? Why would you need to activate Invigorating Breath when you're at 10 life? No reason. You're just wasting a card in your hand.
I mean,
Just
what do you
why
want to
would
do?
you
Just-
want early game life gain? That's just a wasteful card in your hand. You should save any card that can gain you life.
if you
So
want,
that's why this card is just perfect instead of having an Invigorating Breath. Besides, Invigorating Breath over time gets weaker with the life gain. So you don't want to play multiple copies, but you need the life gain because you have a lack of a null. But this card is so much better. Even if it costs a gauge, it's simply you got back. Like, just imagine this. Someone called a no Naga, cost them a gauge, attack you for 4, you take it. Then it's your turn, you activate this, you pay the gauge, now you're back at square. Now they're back at square one.
and let's just say Beast Aura's ability that Dual Dragons are famous for.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay. So now we can get off Dual
Knight
Dragons. We
Wild.
can move on to Armor, Knight, Ace. I like this deck. As much jokes. Huh?
All I'm saying is you can take this side. I'm done on my side.
Alright. Thank you, Devon. Armor Knight Ace. I may have joked when I did the Dual Dragon pros and cons that I hate this deck. I was lying. Well, sorta. I don't dislike this deck. I dislike its design. It's cheap and boring. And they fucked up the stats. The only card that got a boost to its stats was Cerberus, but then he cost the gauge to call. And then everyone else got nerfed. Gargoyle, I got kicked in the nuts, lost 2 critical, but I'm a good nullifier. And then Griffin's like, I lost 3,000 power and I get a slightly useful ability, but still the same crit. And then you got Armor Knight Kari, which says, I bypass all bullshit. Basically, these are all the new cards that support the Ace deck. Ace decks basically are all the 3 Ace cards and Armor Knight Kari working in tangent to
Swinging for
keep
5
yourself
crit
at
in the
a
beginning of the match.
yes, basically saying you go for, I don't know, a Rick Dow Demon Slay, and then you pay 1 gauge. All you have to do now is call an Armor Knight Kari, and then you can put an Ace card from your hand into the soul. Then you put in Cerberus into your soul, and now you gain an extra 2 critical. Now you can just attack your opponent directly and just go, ha ha ha, 5 crits. You're gonna block? You're gonna block.
Every turn, basically.
Can't block? Well, sucks to be you. If you kind of want to block, and if I have the gauge since I only cost 1 anyway, I can just do Fang Dragon Declaration, which is a shit spell no anyway.
Yeah, but Ace is probably the only Danger World deck that can abuse it, though.
Yes, it's the only deck that can use it effectively as much compared to any other Danger World deck. But Ace does have a huge problem. It is heavily reliant on either Kari helping you in the early game, or is heavily reliant on you drawing these Ace cards, or already having them established in your soul and you haven't wasted them, or your opponent hasn't destroyed your weapon.
Let's not forget it's heavily required on items, so if you're facing a world that can destroy items somewhat easier than others, then yeah.
And since
Unless you
we are only doing post set 5, we are not talking about perfect pack, where there is an eagle ace, which allows your weapon not to be returned to your hand or destroyed, which would be a really great fit here. But we're doing post set 5 because that perfect pack or golden buddy pack or whatever you want to call it does not come until March. So we will have 2 months of a different meta completely different than what will happen in Perfect Pack. So we want to talk about this upcoming meta that's coming at the end of the month rather than one that comes like 3 months from now or 2 months from now if you want to do that kind of time. But all I want to say about Ace is it is a really, really good deck, but people are not playing it correctly. Now, I'm not calling anyone who's using Ace at the moment bad. First of all, one of our teammates, Jake, is using an Ace deck. Well, not primarily. He's only using Cerberus Ace. But he still would rather have just Cerberus Ace because he doesn't feel like the other ones help as much. Actually, I do remember he might have had gargoyles in his deck since
no,
the last
no,
time
no,
I've seen
no.
it.
He told me last time we met. He said he only plays Cerberus Ace.
Okay, sorry. I was getting a little bit off track. Well, not off track, but I was shifting. Anyway, Cerberus Ace is not being played correctly by most people. It's a deck as of now that needs protection for your weapon. So you have to be running it maybe 2 or even 3, or maybe if you're bold enough, 4 Demon Slay Barrier, which I haven't been seeing in a lot of lists. People keep going for all these rush decks and such. Well, what does a rush deck need? Defense. Even if you're going for all the offensive plays, you need something to back you up. If you have nothing to back up your monsters or your items, which you desperately need in this kind of deck, you're kind of gonna fall apart. Now, with a card like Loki that hasn't been announced for our TCG, thank God, if that card existed, no, I'm being serious because Ace has no answer to this because Loki gets rid of all the soul in any card. So imagine you got like all 4 of your gargoyles, 2 Cerberus, and a Griffin in there. You're like, I'm gonna go for game next turn. Color size 0 with 0 crit. Now you lost all of that, and they didn't do anything else. That's not fair. That's not fair for this deck, and that's not fair for any deck with Soul Guard or other things.
Mm-hmm.
That card simply will freaking destroy an Ace deck. Ace will be destroyed by any Legend World side deck containing that card. Thank God we have not had it released yet, because this deck would basically be almost unviable. But my thoughts of Ace is that you have to play it properly. With all the new support, such as Armonite Asmonite, allow you to even deal with other rush decks. You have another nullifier in form of Gargoyle H, and you have Battle Order Circle. You have ways to protect your monster with Demon Slayer Barrier, and you have ways to get back stuff from your drop zone with armor reuse. Your deck is essentially the perfect deck. The only problem is you have to learn how to play it right.
Mm-hmm.
You have a high damage output. You have a way to defend yourself easily, and you have high stats with being able to cripple walls. And you can, and if I haven't said it once, I'll say it again. Armor Knight Demon is dumbest size 3 in buddy fights.
Dumbest as in it's not relevant, or dumbest as in it's way too good.
Dumbest as in it shouldn't have been created, especially since how early it was made. 9,000 power, 3 critical, 8,000 defense, and 2 gauge a monster, and you have double attack. Retarded as
Yeah,
all fuck.
yeah, it is
Because
retarded.
think about, like I've already said this before. If you have literally 4 cards in hand, and it's the first turn, and it's the second turn, and your opponent somehow didn't call a monster in the center, and they have no nullifiers, you win the game with this field. You can use a rigged out Demon Slayer, equip it. You call a Armonite Eagle regular to the left, or any monster for that matter that doesn't cost gauge. Then you call a demon on top of it, pay the last 2 gauge you have. Then you call an Armonite Eagle to the right, and you win the game because you have double attack, 3 crit, which is 6 damage. Then you have your weapon, which is 3 crit, that's 9 damage. And Armonite Eagle is 1 critical, that's perfectly 10 damage. If you have a Tiger, that's 11 damage. That is insane. Insane as
It
fuck.
really is. It really is.
And
And
that's simply 4 cards in your second turn. If there's 4 cards in your hand, you win the game. That's
That's
a bit silly. And even if someone says, you can stop this by doing such and such and such and such, you're lying because there's no way to kind of stop to stop when they go for demon because there's no counter removal to stop demon. The only way to stop is if you're Katana World and you snake gaze him. Everything else, you're gonna be taking a buttload of damage that turn, even if you do block most of them.
I mean, I don't know if that player is dumb enough and not going for me and they go for my monsters and I'm playing Katana, I can just Gigiri it. Even if they don't have Demon Slayer barrier, I'm good. If they do, then saltiness is coming through.
Well, we have lost Justin for a quiet moment. Well, he said he's got to go, but definitely, guys, please leave a goodbye for Justin in the comments section if you would, please. Um, and now we're going to get on to hybrid. Hybrid. This almost never exists anymore.
Yeah, I don't even know
This
what
deck,
paper is
this
anymore.
deck has issues because recently with EVO 2, there's more synergetic cards for an individual deck. But that doesn't mean there's no space for a hybrid deck. A hybrid deck can pretty much include Armor Knights and Dual Dragons in the same deck. Now, this would pretty much mean Demon Go to Arc is pretty much useless in this deck. Any Dual Dragon that requires a certain amount of Dual Dragons is almost useless in this deck. And most of the time, Arbor Reuse will not be the greatest card in your deck because it only retrieves one half your deck or 1/3 or whatever the amount you play.
Yep.
But you can use cards effectively, such as Demon, Bahamut if you want to play defensively, which I would never play, or Demon. Demon.
Yep.
And then you still have lots of 3-card cards to work with. You have Armor Knight Gargoyle regular, and you still also have Gale Korga. And then if you just need a simple Thousand Rapier clone that can also have a little benefit, you can also run sorry. You can also run Saberclaw Dragon Falcon, which is a B-Store card where you pay and if you don't know what B-Store does, like we said before, pay a gauge and you gain a life if it's on the left or right when you call it. So pretty much you can get a little life gain coming out of that too. Of course, you can still run Demon Slayer Resurrection, you Demon Slayer Barrier, you run most likely a Dimensional Demon Slayer Slash where you can take an opponent's gauge and gain a gauge. Definitely useful in this deck.
Yeah.
Rigdal Demon Slay, Swirling Darkness, the better Boulder Piercing with one more crit, but costing age, easy as shit. There's just a lot of options of the vanillas you can just use in this deck. You can run if you want to be a bit more defensive with your cards, you can run Armor Knight Chimera, which is 6/7, which is absolutely insane for a size 2. You can go back to your roots and run regular Armor Knight Eagle, Griffin, so you can get like a good 7,000 power. You have Rahal for a 6/5 move.
Yeah, Jalen, Archer Raffle would be better than Griffin in most cases. Even though it is
True.
2 gauge. Even though it is 2
Even though
gauge.
Arthur is 2 gauge, he would definitely be a better fit. Definitely true.
Yeah, because that double attack does more than just a 3 crit vanilla.
Definitely true.
And then back to what you were saying,
hybrid deck yes, and a hybrid deck can go far. It just takes it of what cards you choose to use. Choose wisely, because there's plenty of plethora of monsters and spells you can use in this deck. Well, maybe not spells, but definitely a good amount of monsters you can use.
Yeah.
And even though I haven't mentioned this for Ace, you can use Drill Bunker in hybrid or Ace, where these cards are great end gamers, where it's just a simple 2 gauge, and then you just don't have to attack with your weapon at that moment, and you can pretty much hit through any wall because it is Rigdal Demon Slay. Well, only thing blocking that attack is the Tempest Enforcer.
True.
But everything else gets practically 5 crit or above penetrated, which is absolutely great. So
Wait. Bahamut can protect as well.
Bahamut shit.
Oh my god.
But either way, my final verdict on Danger World would be definitely a 7.
I would say I'm gonna say 8, just because It
Yeah,
like
it's personal
it,
prowess, it's definitely not a bad world. It just has a little bit weird support to work with.
it just doesn't have the defense. That's all I'm gonna say. It just doesn't have enough
Yes,
defense.
Brian Ashbrook, we did talk about the dual Dragon move, which is Night Flight Dragon Hall. So now we move on to the next world, which I presume would be Katana World,
Yep, because Katana has less support than Magic.
even after set 5. Because
Yeah,
then we got Magic, Dark Dragon, which is the most support. Actually, no, wait, nothing tops that Dragon World. But
exactly.
actually, wait. Wouldn't it be Legend World then Katana? Yeah, Legend World's next.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They only got that one support, which is set 4.
4. So we're gonna go into Legend World. Legend World. Now, this is something I'm really touchy about. I haven't done pros and cons on this. One, because my laptop's being stupid and I can't do video editing for some goddamn reason, which I apologize. For I'm currently using a different laptop in my household. But the problem is I don't really like Legend World. I humbly apologize to anyone that just says, "Oh, Legend World's awesome." Even Devil on here likes Asgard's. I don't dislike any of the decks. I just think Legend World was designed very fucking poorly, and
It
they just can't do anything with the poor amount of support. Even if they're like good in this aspect, good in this aspect, good in this aspect, I don't really care because they just got rushed. They got rushed out. I feel like everything they did was rushed. The way the decks were designed, rushed. The way the concepts were done, rushed. They just feel like they were an incomplete mess, and they came out way too quickly and way too jumbled up to the point where people didn't know what to do with the deck, so people just it fell off the face of the planet until we basically perfect pack is coming out and it's getting a few support that we don't know about yet. Not all support we know about yet, but it's getting some. But I want to start off with Asgard's. As of now, you have the Ragnarok version.
As of now, I am trying to build an aggro Asgard deck, which I have to wait till Perfect Pack, so we can't really talk about that. Huh.
So we have to talk about Ragnarok version. Ragnarok,
Oh crap!
pretty much you pay 2 life, 3 gauge, um, and you have to have a Fimbulwinter, great spell Fimbulwinter, without any soul, and then you nuke hand, field, and that's it. You
The problem is
nuke,
trying to get to that combo.
yeah, because this card is not addable unless you're a freaking 6th grader, and we get that card, but I don't think we are.
But
The
that card's not included
the Horn
because
of the End.
we can't use that card, Jayla, because it's technically not in set 5.
We can't use it in general. It's not even coming in perfect path, but I'm just saying in general, the only way to search it is through that, and that's I'm just referencing. I'm not saying it's usable, but Ragnarok is not addable. Fimbulwinter is not addable without these cards, but with this card, and Fimbulwinter is a set spell that costs you nothing, but you put the top 2 cards of your deck into the soul, and you have to wait basically 2 more turns to get back the card that you just set, which basically you draw after, and it always loses soul at the beginning of the turn. So after basically, like I said, 2 more turns after setting this, you'll be able to draw an extra card for your turn, and that's it. Does nothing else. Just sits on your field for rest of the game
Yeah.
until you activate a Ragnarok.
And the Battle Ragnarok's cost 3 gauge and 2 life. That life could be nullified if you have Rune Staff on field, but that's about it.
Runestaff does cost a gauge, but it pays itself back a gauge by being a 0/0 weapon, and then all you have to do is rest it, and then you gain a gauge, and it reduces the life cost of all great spells. And the only great spells that work with this are Great Spell Thunder of Zeus, and like we said, Ragnarok. Thunder of Zeus is a different story and does not get played often, so we're not going to talk about it. What Asgards do have at the moment, they do have, of course, the buddy monster that everyone loves so much, Iceblade Joker. Iceblade Joker is a 6/2/3 size 0.
What is
Insane.
what is
But it has
this?
a call cost of pay 3 fucking gauge.
Wait, there's more. You can get around that call cost.
Yes, when Iceblade Joker is discarded from your hand by anything, in general, you can pay a gauge and call him from your drop without paying his call cost. This
So,
card is stupid. Very, very stupid.
especially with the
You
discard
can combo this with the you can
abilities.
combo this with multiple cards. You can combo this with Berserk Guard when there's a Brethren Guard in the drop, or respectively Brethren Guard if there's a Berserk Guard in drop.
No,
You
no, no.
can discard
Jalen, hold on, Jalen. Berserk Guard only works if you have Symbol Guard. Then Brethren Guard
oh
will
whoops.
Berserk
Yes, yes. So basically these cards and basically Court Squall Raise Velgar. All three of these cards are the only cards that can get rid of an Ice Blade Joker in your hand as of now, but they're all pretty great options to get rid of the card in your hand. Either you get a smaller Drago Energy generic for Legend World, or you get your stupidly broken Add Myself Back Spell Mill, or you get a extra draw and you get to pay to get and you get to pay a gauge and just call this back onto your field. A 6,000 power, 2 critical on a size 0 is very insane. This card alone can deal with most monsters and deal a decent amount of damage.
Exactly. That's really good, in my opinion.
Raise Velgar is a 5/16, but it's a 5/16 size 2 that's free, and you can just call this to your center, and there's no backlash to it.
and
They
its
do have
ability,
8,000 rate for your.
I was gonna say its ability
Oh,
is
you yes. All you're doing is discarding a card from your hand. That could be any dead card, such as a Demon Wolf Fenrir, so you can set up for a Gleipnir play, for the Ragnarok play, as we will discuss later. Um, but 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 you can basically discard any dead card in your hand, or discard a card so you can set up for Simbel, Brethren, or Berserk Guard in tangents for each other's effects by using Raise Velgar's effect, and then you get to get a draw from your deck. So you are basically netting one card of your. You are basically doing not. You are basically affecting your drop zone, which is a great thing in this deck. At the same time, you have field presence and the same amount of cards in hand, which is essentially a plus .5. Or even if you're looking at it from a how you can go crazy with Gleipnir play, you can look at a plus point. You can look at it as a plus 1.5. But the best thing about this, what are you gonna say, Devon?
I was gonna say, were you gonna talk about the guards?
Uh, I'm gonna have to say it, aren't I? As I said before, Berserk Guard is a Drago Energy clone generically. Any monster can work with this, and you get +2/+2 to your power and defense, and it gets counterattack. If there's a Symbol Guard in your drop zone, while this card is also in your drop zone, you get to discard a card from your hand, and then
Pay 2
is
gauge.
that it? Yeah, it's pay 2 gauge. I knew it was similar to Brethren Guards. You pay 2 gauge and add it back to your hand from your drop zone. Very, very good. Be able to initiate a Ice Blade Joker play, but that would cost you 3 gauge. But even so, you do get a great clone, Dragon Energy clone. It works so well with Raise Velgar because it makes your opponent way too scared to just go, okay, I'll attack with my generic 6,000 power monster at your monster. Oh wait, but you have that. I guess I'll link attack. Well, then okay, I don't care.
And then
It's
there's
a really good card to apply pressure. Then we have Brethren Guard, one of the most powerful spell nodes in the entire game, and it just recently came out in set 4. Quite insane, actually. But
yep,
what this does
two
it is pay
gauge.
2 gauge, and you get to nullify any spell at any moment to counter, and or you can destroy a set spell on the field.
Either players fail basically.
Yeah, either player's field. That's quite insane, actually. And the
Intent.
best part about this, if there's a Berserk Guard in your drop zone, you can do the same thing as I said with Berserk Guard. You discard one card in your hand and pay 2 gauge, and you add a freaking spell null back to your hand. Why, Bushy? Why? Why would you invent that when there's Vlatorog, Rune Staff, in like that Valkyrie and Perfect Pack? What the fuck?
Jalen, let's not
I don't understand.
Jalen, let's not forget we don't even care about gauge because we gain gauge like nobody no other day.
No
Like
tomorrow. No tomorrow. You gain gauge. Gain gauge party. But
oh yeah, hold on. Before
but
you get to Symbelgard, hold on. Before you get to Symbelgard, let's talk about the pay to gauge and discard one card to get them back. Let me just explain that there are counter abilities, so you can activate those abilities right after you use them, if during a battle phase, so you can just get a isolate Joker on the field when you attack with everything already.
That's pretty insane. That's really, really insane. um, but what I was going to say was now we're on to the last guard, which is Symbol Guard. It is basically a life break 6. Nice one. You
Retarded.
pay 1
It's
gauge and you draw 2 cards. Hold up, hold up. But this is special. This card is not like any other card. What it allows you to do is if you have a Brethren Guard in your drop zone, you do not have to pay the gauge to draw 2 cards. And it still has the life break 6 restriction, but think about it like this. I just nullified a spell, but now they started hitting me for damage. All they did was take 4 damage when I was at 10. Huh.
Okay.
I guess I'll draw.
activate. I guess I'll just draw 2 cards just by playing 1 card for free.
You're
It's
keeping the amount of gauge you want to keep in order to do the Ragnarok play. At the same time, you're adding more cards to your hand, which can even draw into a Ragnarok.
Basically, it's an equivalent to Nice One.
It basically is the next best card to a Nice One, which is really, really great.
So
Now, without further ado, now we get on to the Ragnarok combo. This combo will essentially cost you just about
6 gauge.
Devon is not lying. This will cost you 6 gauge. 6 gauge? That sounds impossible. Actually, after turns of charging, drawing, rune staffing, you will instantly get that gauge within, I don't know, 2 turns? Or even more?
3 turns. 3 to 4 turns. That's all I have to say. Because rune staff is
the Asgard expert himself. Either way, what you do now is if you have your established field will be a rune staff, a Gleipnir with a Demon Wolf Fenrir in the soul. Demon Wolf Fenrir, if you do not know, is a 10, 6, 7 size 3 that has a call cost to pay 5 gauge, but he's unaffected by the effect of Gleipnir and can attack the turn he is summoned by it.
And
If you don't know what Gleipnir does, it gets a size 3 from your drop zone, and once this card is destroyed, and it's a set spell by the way, and once this card is destroyed and has the size 3 in its soul, then it calls the size 3 onto the field, and normally on the Gleipnir, the card cannot attack for the turn. But that's why Fenrir just says, fuck that shit.
Actually, correction. You don't need 6 gauge, you just need 5. Huh. I just noticed that. You don't need 6 gauge.
Oh, that is true. Oh, yes, I know what you mean. So now what you have is a Rune Staff, a Gleipnir, a Fimbulwinter without any soul at all, and you basically have a Ragnarok and 2 Iceblade Jokers in your hand. Yeah. Now you just go. What you do here is now you.
Oh, you mind if I take over?
No, you can definitely do it, man. Go ahead.
So basically, you just basically go ham. What's your actually? Let's correct that 5 gauge to 7 gauge for a minute. Actually, wait, nah, we gotta go 5 gauge for F it. If your opponent doesn't have a spell, no. If your opponent doesn't have a spell, no. Cast Ragnarok. Pay 3 gauge. You don't have to pay the 2 life because Rune Staff is a card. You destroy everything on the field. You destroy
all
cards in your opponent's hand. Also, an
important thing is that all abilities are nullified on the field. So any card except gold. Actually, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure this actually.
Jalen. All monster abilities, not spells.
Oh, monster abilities. Yes. So it does not affect
Gold Ritter can stay on field, but they can't protect their life.
Only card. Well, Gold Ritter and Durandal, the only 2 cards in existence that can survive this.
Yeah, so basically, you do all that shenanigans, blah, 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 blah. You discard your 2 Isolated Jokers. So basically, out of all that, you got a free Fenrir from Gleipnir. You paid your last 2 gauge to get the 2 Isolated Jokers on board. And right there, that's a 10 crit field. And the opponent most likely does not have anything to do. Because you basically got rid of everything.
That all sounds really, really good, right? Now think about this. That would take, equivalently, to even get all of that set up, at least that would take you 3 turns. That would take you 3 turns, minimally. That's the very minimum. You would usually
the right card. 3 turns if you have the right card.
If you have the right cards. But if you usually don't have the right cards, of course, it will take you about 5 to 8 or longer.
And that's if you don't
This
die.
is why this deck sucks because,
Hold on. Hold
well,
on.
not sucks. This is
Let me
why
just
this deck has faults. Oh,
hold
okay,
on,
okay,
let me just
Devil.
explain real quick.
Yes.
Basically, by turn, if you don't have it, basically you gotta have no a lot of no's in your hand. And White Dragon Shield Clone, unfortunately, you gotta play that just to survive. But by turn 5, if you didn't have, by turn 3, if anything, if you don't have any no's or anything, you die. If you do, you better hope you have everything by turn 6, or you die.
The biggest problem with Asgard's as of now, they do not have enough offensive pressure to start just going for damage because the most they have is just 2 critters, and then Fenrir is the highest critter they have, and he's 5 gauge if you don't use Gleipnir. You can use Gleipnir by using 2 gauge in order to destroy the Gleipnir yourself by using Guard. So you can get off Fenrir without doing so, and he's not removable, so they pretty much would have to block this with a nullifier. But the problem with this is costing you 2 gauge and a card in your hand. Even though the card is addable back, you would probably want to say this for Ragnarok play. If the Fenrir does go away, unless you have another Gleipnir, and you eventually go into a Ragnarok, that was basically your most promising play you ever have. And due to Legend World having Danger World problems, you have the exact same nullifier lineup, except with a little bit of a bonus. You have a basically Battle Order Circle clone with Holy Grail. You have a White Dragon Shield clone, just like Phoenix Wall, but in the term of Shield of Achilles. And
And
then
you have Power of
but
Mythology.
instead you have Power of Mythology. Power of Mythology is a really good spell, but it does not work too well in Legend World for how it works. It does cost 2 gauge to cast any of these abilities, but the very notable one, it does nullify any attack. So any attack, even if you have a center, a link attack, blah 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 blah, it will nullify it. It nullifies an attack for 2 gauge. It's a nullifier for 2 gauge, which is not very promising, but it still works effectively. But it also has an ability where it gives for the rest of your turn all your monsters plus 5,000 power, or it can also give all your monsters penetrate.
Nah, not all of them, just one of them.
I mean, sorry, one of your monsters penetrate.
Basically, Fenrir, if you did the Breathing Guard play. That's
Yes,
basically all.
so this pretty much this pretty much is just the extension of the deck as of now. Not Asgards aren't the best deck, and they're not going to be for a long while unless we start getting the same support Japan scene. But without further ado, I want to get on to heroes
Yep,
because
hero.
this is going to be annoying to talk about. Heroes, aka the Knights of the Round Table. You have Merlin, which is your Shiden, but has a ton of issues. Okay, my problem with Merlin, he doesn't do what heroes need him to do. Okay, just about everything in Legend World that's good is a fucking hero. All the equipment change weapons, hero. All even one of your spell nulls, hero. When um most of even your spells like your Dragon Energy Code and Heroic Spirit, hero obviously. There are lots of cards that are heroes, so they can work well. But that's the problem. This deck is so hero-based, you'd be fucked playing anything that's not a hero. You have very, very limited space of how you can play hero. Oh, by the way, King of the Sword, Excalibur. Excalibur is a great card, but I hate it. I hate it because
It's one of your only nullifiers in the deck.
it is gainable back through Gawain, or is it Gareth? I don't remember. There's so many G's. I hate
It's
saying
what
the
you
name.
call it. It's Gareth.
Yes, Gareth. You pay 3 gauge to get back the nullifier though, which is annoying as
Yeah,
shit. And it has to be in a link attack. And it has to be initiated in a link attack too.
which can easily be
But
blocked
Excalibur also requires 10 or more heroes, not different, thank God, because that's impossible. But 10 or more heroes being in your drop zone. Heroes are absolutely not drop zone dropping bullshit. This is only a late game card.
I mean, Merlin does start building it up, though. That's all we can say about Merlin.
No, Merlin starts building it up in your hand, and that would be requiring you start wasting your hand pretty quickly so you can
You
get.
have to discard a hero and pay 1 gauge. That 1 gauge could be a hero most likely, and then you could have to discard a hero. So basically, it builds up the drop as well.
Yeah, for two, that's two cards, and then that's on the first time you use it. That's pretty decent, and you just need eight more to go. But the way this deck progresses, it doesn't happen fast. And also, heroes have a really weird weapon lineup. Now, see the way it is. Runting's a great three crit weapon, but is only a three crit weapon. 1,000 power. They might as well put have just should have just put fucking zero. Um, Pridwin, I hate it. It's literally a fucking white dragon shield clone that costs 2 gauge. Don't care if it's counter equipment change. It's booty.
White Dragon Show close is real.
They have two of them.
What's,
Two.
it's not.
That's
Hold on.
nasty.
Hey,
No,
Jill,
but one
buddy.
big ruling about Pridwin. I just want to say one thing.
Uh,
I know. I want to talk about I'm going to talk about Durandal, the most unique card ever. But Pridwin
uh,
is not, since it's a counter equipment change. The equipment change is counter. You can actually use his ability its ability in tangent with a counter ability. So say you went for a Shield of Achilles, you can still counter equip before. Say you go for counter equipment change at the start of battle, then you go for its ability to reduce damage by 2, and then say I don't know they attacked you with a Nobunaga, and then you would still take 2. You can still activate a Shield of Achilles because you did not activate a counter. You activated its ability, so you are able to activate another card. Shield of Achilles does work well with this, but that's another card in your hand. And I don't want to go into too many details, but that's not always the best thing unless you are going to take 3 to 4 crit from a single attack. Then this is a good play. Then they have their buddy, or the Primero buddy for heroes. I don't know. Immortal Sword Durandal, which is a sword. That is your buddy. You can buddy equip this. This is the only weapon in the game that can actually be a buddy monster, or buddy card, if you want to say now. This card can be buddy equipped if you basically it works exactly like a buddy gift. You use a random fifth copy that doesn't exist in your deck, and you put it in the buddy zone, and when you equip Durandal, you will gain a life. And Durandal is free, so it's great. And it has 6,000 power and 1 critical. It's real, and it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and it does have equipment change. It's a really great ability which allows your weapons to go to your hand, and if you don't need them anymore, you can charge them.
so it's a really good weapon in the deck.
Yes, pretty much it's the greatest thing in tangent with Pridwin, Runting, and Durandal. All three of these work really great in tangent because you have a 3 crit card, you have a good powered card, and you have a card that can defend yourself. All three in tangent, and what I think is the underrated one is Balmung. Balmung, the dragon slaying sword, whatever you want to call it, is great in Darkness Dragon, the Seeger matchups. Just really great card. And since those matchups are actually pretty common, you can actually main these. Actually, are required. I think you're required to main these because 8 weapons is almost an essential in heroes because they kind of need a weapon to start going off because their monsters are like lower than low of fucking. They're like basically less than Dungeon Mix basic stats. Dungeon Mix at least has 2 monsters with 5,000 power. They have 1. They have 1. That's Percival. Everything else, 4,000 and less. Less. That's weak as shit. They have a really bad problem against Seeger. If it wasn't for Balmung and Penetrate existing in this deck would never beat Seeger. And also, they have a Drago Energy clone. But here's the catch. The only cards that can even work decently with this are Arthur, who has 5,000 defense, and Percival has 3,000 defense. And that won't help for all that often. Every other time you have a heroic spirit, none of your monsters will be saved because they have 1,000 defense or so. They'll never survive with a heroic spirit. So heroic spirit is just basically only good with Arthur, and since people will most likely attack Arthur, that's when it's decent. But if people just remove Arthur with a spell or some sort, of course, then you just fucking. It's just. I don't know how to describe it. It's just bad, I guess. But I don't like heroes because they're very monster reliant, but they were based a bit more weapon and spell based than monster reliant, which is really really weird for the deck and really hard for them to go with because when you start getting Merlin's ability off and you start getting monsters, you would most likely want a monster because that's how you initiate plays so well in the deck. But you're only able to get spells and items with hero attribute. So you're kind of stuck just being in this big loop of not being able to get the cards you need because you have to play with how your deck's playing instead of how you want to play, which is just weird. I don't
That's
know.
true.
I'm just not fond of it. It's good deck because it has a pretty decent damage output. It can break dragon walls. It can't break walls in general though. It has a good matchup against dragon walls if you can say that with that. It does not require too much gauge, but it does require quite in a good amount to function well.
Wait. You said it has a good match against Shred, bro. But when it comes to Jackknife, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, Ritter is just this deck's like worst matchup in existence. Can't do shit. GG.
Yeah.
GG no re. You ain't getting no wins. You ain't getting no wins in this matchup. Ritter, GG.
Try and link all you want. Draco Energy exists on the other side, and reducing all damage to 2 crit exists as well.
All right. Now we can get on to the last one. Wider
Last
Circle,
one.
or the enemy.
Basically, the best out of the three, in my opinion.
I'd love to say that, but it's only the best in pale comparison because all of them are not so good right now. Wider Circle does have some really good support. They have a Soul Guard monster that can only go on the left to right, but it does have double attack, or was it penetrate? I don't remember. It's 2 gauge, 7,000 power. That's all I remember. Size 2, 2 critical, or the 3
And
critical.
it's an armor
I'm not.
dragon.
I haven't studied Legend World in a little while. I'm a little rusty,
What you call it? It's an armor dragon.
which is weird. They have a fire manipulating dragon Zolgarad clone, but it costs a gauge. It's 726, size 2. They have a 413 penetrator. They have a systemic dagger clone. They have Grendel. Oh, Grendel. They have Wind Fairy Sylph, which helps get weapons, but I guess. I'm not fond of Sylph, but she is a good card nonetheless. Great size 0, but 111 cost a gauge.
Jalen, I know you want to get to it. Just get to that spell. That spell.
Decree of fucking Dulan, dumbest card in all of Legend World.
Pay 3
Okay,
gauge.
K3 gauge, life break 5. Every wider circle gets double attack.
Oh,
Double attack with every monster in late game, which is this is designed for. So they said, "Fuck it, we gave you the way how do you win the late game." So you with your decently powered monsters and your pretty decently powered sized critical, you can pretty much go for late game kills or late game board wipes, which is absolutely great for this deck. And the best part about this deck, it doesn't require that much gauge. Most of the things are vanilla, which is I guess a nice thing in this case. Um, they do also have a Drago Energy Clo, the wider call, lamest Drago Energy card name ever.
exactly.
They have they can still use the weapons just as well as heroes can. Equipment change works well for them. Um, I mean equipment
They
change
can
can work
get
in any deck.
they can get back those weapons, unlike heroes.
Yes, yes, that is true. But they can't get back a Holy Grail like heroes. Um,
Yeah.
and another good. I'm trying to like. I don't think there's like anything else. Oh, Gorgon sisters. They are wider call. They are, but they do have their own attribute Olympus. But they are really great cards. Riley, but they're only good in tandem with each other, so it's kind of hard to try and even splash them in a wider call deck. You would have to play
Wait,
like 4 of each or maybe 3 of each.
wait, what you call it, Jalen? They are White Called. They're White Called slash Olympians.
No, I know. I said they have their own. They have their own attribute, but they are wider calls.
Yeah. So
But basically, Riley is a Bladewing Phoenix clone, but it does require Gorgon to be on the field. Medusa is basically board wipe for fucking rush decks. Discard a Gorgon, blow up your field.
and Thanos
Steno
is
is 316 volt. Steno is like basically a fat chick with some fat dragon chick with fucking bronze shield ass. Then you have their like son or whatever the fuck that guy is, the
Golden
guy
Blade Gore.
who gains penetrate if there's enough Gorgons in the drop.
And he's a 5/3/1.
It's a pretty nice card. All four of these cards do work well, except for Stano. Stano's a fucking vanilla. She does nothing except be Medusa fodder. She's garbage.
That's basically it.
So that's Wider Sakal in a nutshell. It's pretty much decent deck with amazing spell support, I guess.
Let's not. I forgot about him. Can we talk about Spring Heel Jack though? Because he's not. He's actually not a bad card.
Well, Spring-Yo Jack is a pretty decent card. He's basically an El Quixote clone, but instead of needing to deal damage, he can destroy monster. He does have 5,000 power and a decent 4,000 defense.
No, he has 2,000 defense.
Okay, 2,000 defense. Then, well, you can still Wider Sakal just like any 2,000 or 3,000 monster or 4,000.
Yeah.
But other than that, this all Legend World is an all just has like
And they're ridiculous
what?
7K size 1.
Oh yeah. How did I forget about Tree Dragon? Or whatever the fuck his name is. As long as your buddy is a Wider Sakal. As long as your buddy is a Wider Sakal monster, you can basically derp have a 7/1/3 or 2. I don't remember the defense, but he's a size 1 with 7,000 power. Hi, Seeger! Oh, by the way, did I mention Decree of Dullahan's a thing? Call 3 of these. Decree of Dullahan. Bye, Seeger.
Hold on. I just noticed all the decks can get around that buddy thing. Just play him as the buddy. Yeah, just play
Oh,
just,
man.
just play the tree as the buddy, and all 3 decks can basically play this card.
Yerp. But, Legend World in general, I would give this world a 7. It's hard for me. It's like how I feel about Danger World.
What you call it for Legend? I'll give them a 5.5 because they're not ready for the meta.
They're not ready, but I'll be nice and give them like a 6. Now we can move on to the last 3 worlds, if you haven't noticed, would be Katana World. Oh wait, no, 4 worlds: Katana World, Magic World, Katana World, Magic World, Darkness Dragon World, and Dragon World. In that order. So we will now be doing Katana World.
Oh, yeah.
We have ninjas, skull warriors, and now since we are going of set 5, hybrid is a definite thing.
What we call this the water hybrid.
Definitely. Devlon, I know you definitely want to talk about ninjas. Go ahead.
Let's see. Well, I'll just start with my perspective of I'm gonna base it on my ninja deck real quick. So basically,
Okay.
I play an aggro ninja deck, which is something that a lot of people would not do, only because some people say you want hand advantage, you don't want to throw down everything quickly. As you've seen from the matches I used my ninja deck in, it actually did pretty well, in my opinion. But ninjas,
It does well. It does well.
yeah, but ninjas do have a lot of good decent crit monsters. I'm not gonna say they have good crit, but they have decent crit monsters. They have some 2 crit to 3 crit monsters. If you want to count Purgatory Ninjas and Kyo, which is a promo that you can only call to the right or left because you can't be called to the center. You got Mobile Ninja Jiraiya, Noble Ninja Momochi Tamba. You have Tsukikage Blade Master Mode. If you're me and you want to play that in your aggro ninja deck, because I prefer that one over the regular. And you have Hayate, which is a move ninja. And you have the weapon Onimar, which is a 3 crit. But one size 1 that is actually very freaking good in ninjas, that will always be a staple in any ninja deck, is Shiden. Basically, Shiden, if you're under a rock and you don't know for some goddamn reason, he's a 3/1/1 size 1 ninja. And his ability, as states, Cyber Analyze, pay 1 gauge, discard Ninja Urge from your hand, draw 2 cards. Um, all I can say is, in my opinion, he's a little teeny bit better than Merlin. Don't you agree?
I agree he's a lot better than Merlin because at least he's not specific on the cards you can get, and definitely because this card is more affordable for Katana. Most people would most people would say that like, well, even though you do rely a bit on hand advantage in this deck, you can afford losing the one card in your hand, and definitely a really great card. And this may not be in your deck, but this just works in Katana World decks in general. Art of Explosive Hades Fall just well roundedly fucks up every deck in the game because any as long as you put the appropriate size in there, you can deal 2 damage, destroy a monster, and all it did was cost you 1 gauge, and your opponent it could have cost him 2 gauge to call that monster and he doesn't have Soul Guard. Could have been like 1 gauge to call or something, have lifelink or something. It can do a lot of things to your opponent that they don't want to do. They play in a different mindset when that card gets set. This just works so well in Katana World. Um, and definitely better in Skull Warriors because they have a better way of setting up a drop and they actually do something with the drop. But it works in ninjas if you want to use them.
And then, actually, if I'm going to talk about ninjas, I might as well talk about my buddy and get it out the way. Then you have a card. Actually, it's a really good card though. But then you have a really good card named Sky Ninja Yamagurasu. Basically, he's a 4/1/1, size 1 would move, and the ability. If if a monster will rest that's in the same column as him would rest in front of him, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So it's a burn card. It's one of those famous burn cards from Burn Ninjas. But I use it in my deck as my buddy in aggro ninjas because even burn, you can still be aggro.
Well, because move is definitely a needed thing in any kind of aggro deck, so that you effectively have Hayate and your buddy, you do have a way of defending yourself. And everyone thinks, oh, 1 damage is nothing. I've seen many a games where it starts getting to late game or even early game where no one wants to take that 1 damage because 1 damage is a big difference. It's depending on even if he has a sequence related deformation down instead of a Star Crusher, and potentially ending a game if they start link attacking. So they want to keep their life high enough where that isn't a possibility. So when they start seeing like on the left or on the right, or they go into center, and you're playing a deck that you most of the time you're in the center, left or right, either way. If it's in the appropriate position, you're going to attack with the opposite monster in the opposite column. Then you're effectively going to be able to Art of Body Replacement, Bubba Genbu, Snake Gaze, any one of these cards to stop the card from doing so, and then now they're probably too scared to want to take the 1 damage, and then they're probably going to maybe pass, they're going to actually take the damage and then do damage to you, or attack the Yamagurasu to get out the way. All you're accomplishing is that you're effectively, on their turn, dealing a damage to them, and you just lost one single monster while they've just been thinking way too hard, and now they're running at a different mindset, so that could cause them to have some misplays, or it gives you a perfect opportunity to go in with an Onimaru plus two crit monsters, link attack the center, and have a Star Crusher. So if they spell they spell activate, you spell no game, or something of the sort.
Yeah, and we're talking about ninjas, so I actually do want to talk about some of the set 5 support that they got. Well, personally, that I would like to get for my aggro ninja deck. Um, and one of them is that new size 2 Blade Wing Phoenix clone, Speed Ninja Izumo, I believe.
Izuma.
Yeah, Izuma. I probably got it wrong, but it's over.
It's a female. It's a female. It's a female ninja. You haven't seen any of those in a while.
Yeah, so basically she's 1 gauge, 4/2/3, and double attack, Blade Wing Phoenix clone for 1,000 less power, but 2,000 more defense.
But let's all think about this. Super Lethal Formation comes in the same set. Super Lethal Formation can give +1/+1 to all monsters. This can become a 5/2/4. That's really good.
Yeah, it makes Yamagurasu a 5/1/2. It makes Sheeta into a 4K ninja that can probably beat over a couple of things as well. So yeah, this card is really good. Really
It makes
good.
Jiraiya 6,000 defense. It makes Mochikamba 7,000 defense. It just helps out a lot and just helps out in its own special way. And still and still is a lethal formation in its own special way. Also,
Hold on.
there.
What
Oh,
happened?
sorry. No, you. Sorry, I was about to like try and invoke. You're still doing ninjas.
Yeah, I was gonna involve one more card. Uh,
Hmm.
Tama's a good card. It's a 7/26, but let's get that out the way. Let's talk about Fang Style Ninja. I don't know his name. I just call him Fang Style Ninja. He's a size 3 as well, like Tama. He's call cost is 2 gauge like Tama. He has double attack like Tama. The difference is he has 1,000 more power and defense. He's an 8/7. And with super lethal, he's a 9/8. He doesn't have the crit like Demon, but he's also a double attacker like Demon. With super lethal on field. So, whoever's playing Tama in their decks, get him out the way. Put this man in your deck. He is good for aggro ninjas. He will apply a lot of pressure to your opponent. 7k
Or
defense.
or if you
7k
play
defense.
enough water, he can actually be pretty annoying for your opponent if you use the set spell for water, which gives +2/+2 defense, power and defense to all water monsters, and he is a water monster. So basically, you can become a 10/9 double attacker. That's scary.
Or an 11/10 double attacker.
Oh yes, with a super loser formation. Also, man, you have Seeger shivering in their boots when this card comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeger and Spartan. Unfortunately, Enforcer can still take hits. Because of that 12,000 power. But
No
it doesn't
monster,
matter.
not many monsters can reach Enforcer.
But yeah, this card is a really good replacement for Momochi-Tamba. Momochi-Tamba does give you
It
that
doesn't
life.
gain life like Muchitamba, which is kind of essential to Katana World in a little way because Katana World does not have much life gain in general. But it's worth the sacrifice.
Yeah, so basically, really good size 3. I say play this over Momochi-Tamba, but if you still feel like you want that life gain with Momochi-Tamba, you can play it as well. It's not Momochi-Tama's not bad at all, but I just prefer this card over him. Now, Jalen, go. We can continue on what you was gonna do.
Thank you, Devon, for talking about your the post set 5 ninjas, and now I shall move on to um the other deck, Skull Warriors. Skull Warriors were always treated like the better deck of the few because ninjas didn't have this, or Skull Warriors could do this, or something like that. In honest opinion, even I went a little bit more towards the Skull Warriors side. But as I see now in set 5, I think both decks are equally as viable, or maybe ninjas could be more viable, or even hybrid could be more viable than both of them. But what I think is Skull Warriors are definitely a really good thing. Now, recently with Promo Pack 5, we have gotten a promo which is absolutely perfect in most ways for Skull Warriors. It is a 6/2/1. His name is Demon Kid Hirokima. I haven't seen it for a while. I don't
Just
remember
say,
his name. It's like
just say
Hero.
F. All I'm gonna say is just say F and just continue with the card.
Yeah, Demon Kid is a 6/2/1, is a free call cost, but it does die at the end of the turn, just like most scrollers. But if he is called from the drop zone, basically Return from the Underworld calls him, you gain a gauge. So basically, you return from the Underworld, pay a gauge, get him, you get his ability, you gain back the gauge. You have a 6/2/1 that will die at the end phase, and you play Gepagiri, so this could even count as your monster move for the turn and help you board wipe.
Hey, look,
That's amazing as shit.
hey, look, Jalen, return from the underworld for free.
I know, right? They finally made that happen. Also, there is going to be more Skullroot cards, such as 2 new move monsters. There's a 4/2/1 that also um that is also introduced, but he does cost 1 gauge. There's a 5/3/5 that costs 2 gauge, and I think it does kill itself if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
which is a bit sad. I mean, it makes more sense, but like this card, if you want to play it, I'd say only use it if you're gonna use it as a Hades Falls target more than Yamagitsune, because if you use this from your hand and call it, you'd rather just call from the drop by not paying its call cost and just paying a gauge. So I wouldn't go with like playing too many of these. It's a good 3 crit card, which I think Skull Warriors definitely wanted, but not in that kind of way. I think they made it balanced though, so it's a good thing. Um, then there's also the other move monster, but he's a lot weaker. He's 1, 2, 3, so he's pretty decent in terms of stats, I guess, but he's nothing to smile at, especially since like something from Five Nights at Freddy's. So he's able to.
Oh man.
So these are both really good options for Skull Warriors. Now they have more defense on board, which is what they definitely needed. Because Yamagitsune, Garo were the only way, and Irikamaru of all things, were the only ways of like keeping a monster on board after a turn, which is a really sad thing. But now you actually have a way of doing this. Um, and with the addition of um the set spell adder of demon no Shadowcat. Shadowcat allows you to discard a card from your hand, and it has a cost to pay a life, and basically you just add any demon way set spell, which could be either the water set spell or it could be, of course, return from the underworld. This is really, really good. This is just instantly your perfect way of not having to run for return from the underworld, but you will play 4 of this card if you are playing a water deck if you want the other set spell. But definitely right as of set 5, I think Skull Warriors is definitely a great contender. Like just being able to set up your drop zone even better with Hades Fall, and then now you have a way of getting to demon to return to the underworld, and there's a card that can pay for itself. Return to the underworld has 6,000 power and 2 critical. This deck is coming together quite well.
Yeah, it's really good.
And without further ado, you can now move on to the very, very interesting deck that hasn't gotten enough light, Hybrid. Hybrid 4 has been attempted in Katana World. In my opinion, if you tried it before, you're kind of doing it very terribly. There's no way to, and it's not your fault. There's no way to make it work. No way. Because Return from the Underworld is so Skull Warrior based that you can't play too many ninjas or there will be an inconsistency. But you don't want to play too many Skull Warriors because then they'll die and then you don't have many monsters stay on board, and that's what you need the ninjas for. So the deck is slightly unbalanced in the way you can play this. But now you have water, where there are monsters that work in tangent just due to having an attribute and they're not too specific based on what they come from. Kind of like a race, kind of like if we all got rid of racism, we all work together. but but besides that point, I would say that Hybrid is definitely probably the best contender for a Katana World deck. You can definitely run the other 2 decks in tangent, but my personal opinion is that Hybrid is such a good deck. Basically, Water Hybrid is allowing you to run both decks' benefits, and you don't get that much of a minus. Basically, I say the important lineup you have is Yamagitsune and Shiden, definitely both at 4. Even in this deck, even if you think, oh, I can't use this or that, and then the inconsistencies. No, this works fine. But and then you run 2 of the promo that gets the gauge when he comes back from Return from the Underworld. You play Tsukikage if you feel the need to. I say just run like any fucking ninjas that have 2 crit.
Where's the water cards though?
I'm saying I was gonna say Mobile Ninja Jiraiya. Now he's a very old card, but he has water as an attribute, so he works well in the deck, and he does have 5,000 defense and is a pretty decent size too. Yeah, I say definitely 2 to 3 or 4 Garo, 2 Yamai Hebi. You know, I'm not going to do the whole list, but whatever you feel comfortable with and works well in your deck, go with it and definitely run as many water cards, especially what?
You talk about the list and you forget White Dragon Hermit Nanase.
I was just about to get to him, thank you very much. White Dragon Hermit Nanase is a size 2 with a call cost of pay 1 gauge, and then you have to put 2 water cards from your drop zone into his soul. He has Soul Guard, but he also has a different ability. Act. If you remove a card from the soul of this card, you can get rid of an opponent's gauge, and you can activate this multiple times. So with 2 cards in soul and then you just pay 1 gauge, you can get rid of 2 gauge from your opponent. 1 gauge is like, oh, I just can charge and draw. 2 gauge is like, oh shit, what just happened?
Jail.
There's
Jail. Can I explain one thing though?
well, sure.
What if you play this as your buddy and you play Ultimate Buddy?
Oh, then you can have then you can get rid of 3 gauge in a turn.
3 or more, because if you play multiple Ultimate
Oh,
Buddies,
yeah, you can activate ultimate multiple buddies. So yes, you can do some ridiculous bullshit with this.
well, I wouldn't say activate multiple at a time though, because Ultimate Buddy is gauge heavy itself.
Yeah, Ultimate Buddy is gauge heavy, and there is even also a spell that came in that also gives move and soul guard to monsters, and it goes into the soul of a ninja. So that works perfectly with this card.
No,
So you can even use
apparently Nanase is not a ninja. It's translated as just a water card, so it can't go into the soul.
It's just water. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why it links both,
Just
because
water.
it's just water.
Well then, okay. Well, either way, then, but just as Devlin said, the size 3 he mentioned before is also a water. Even the Blayway Phoenix is also clone is also a water. I think all the new scores except the Five Nights at Freddy looking one are all waters.
You said Five
Water
Nights at Freddy.
Oh, man. Like that thing looks like Five Nights at Freddy. It looks like it's some Mexican version. It has like a freaking sombrero on top of its head, and it has like evil red eyes and shit.
If you're Mexican,
it's a bear.
Let's hope that we don't offend all the Mexicans watching this.
Oh please, they'd be more offended about that taco card that came in Perfect Pack.
Oh man. Let's continue.
Either way, we're not talking about that. All these cards are just great, and then the best way to put them together is with the new set spell. I keep forgetting the name, but all I care about is it's a freaking Calvary Academy that gets plus
Jailer,
2
I got it.
plus.
It's one of the 3 water arts, or 4.
Yes. Where it is a set spell Demon Way, and it's searchable by the Shadow Cat. Sorry. And you pay 1 gauge, and you get +2/+2 to all waters. Every water gets a freaking great boost. Great boost. There is no set spell of this magnitude that costs 1 gauge.
And some of those water monsters, like Nanase, are able to hit cards like Seeger.
Like this card just says everything that's a wall. To me, it's not a wall anymore. There's no walls. You can't hold me back. I will kill you. Every single deck cannot defend themselves with this deck. And even funnier, you could actually use in a defensive water deck if there were enough cards, maybe. Like, just because there's Drago Energy clones for Skull Warriors and ninjas, so this could work. Like with these cards, this is basically giving +5. Basically, with those 2 cards in tangent, you're basically creating Wolf of Mebus, which is insane.
Yeah, but let's not talk about the white
as of
which is also a water card.
Okay, we're done there. We're done with Katana World. My verdict: 9 out of 10. Literally not shitting you. 9 out of 10.
Same here, 9 out of 10, because the great cards, especially that white dragon.
I think best improvements to a world as of set 5. Maybe Darkness Dragon World is a bit higher, but we didn't get to that yet. Alright, so now we have Magic World.
I can't really talk about Magic World because I'm not what's that word? Experienced, smart with that world.
Alright, I can handle this. Don't worry. I know everything. I'm kidding. So we have 3 decks as of now. I mean, even after set 5. We have Burn, we have regular Wizards, and then we have 72 Pillars. I'm gonna start with Burn. Burn didn't get any differences. Burn was good. Burn is good now. I just want to get this out of the way. Burn is just no different. I think maybe you can try some new cards in here, but you want to test? I don't care, but there's just nothing else.
Transflame Rush,
like
say.
They don't do well. Yes, burn wizards mix, whatever you want to call it. Just, just they do the same thing. They just burn and burn with burning wand, transflame, gun rods, um, axia, and just hit for damage with will glass art and other two crit monsters, and have diabolic hardcore sometimes if they want to play it, and then they go for games. And they have all the good spells in there, like nice ones, koshers, and so on and so forth, and blah 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 blah, and this and the fifth. This deck isn't anything special. It's basically burns annoying the shit out of you deck. I mean, I've played against it. I'm not really annoyed by it. It's just that people who mostly play it against a burn deck don't want to play against a burn deck. I think no one wants to play against a deck that doesn't require interactiveness with your opponent. All right, Wizards. I'm getting this self. I'm getting my own personal beliefs out the way. Wizards got a necessary boost. There is a Nobunaga clone that becomes free with magical artist Andy, who was a 2 crit monster. So these two together, 6 crit field, yay! Like 6 crit field, and it basically costs me no gauge, so I can even actually abracadabra to if I link attack, then they just get nulled. Way too good. Then there's also a set spell. If it was more useful, it would allow you to basically just keep every time it's during your opponent's main phase negate a spell by discarding an art card, but there's not many art cards to use that with, and most of them are even in Wizards, so once they make some more support, this card isn't going to see much play. And then also we have a Drago Wizard who's a 6/4 size 1 who costs 1 gauge simply. But once again, Andy can lower those, and they have a good damage output together. 3. Not too bad. Then we have not too many wizard stuff obviously because they basically support 72 pillars. There are other Drago wizards that suck like Gunakemia and my non-favorite card who's a triple rare is Artificial Angel Fastia or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Size 3, 8/16 turns into a size 0 if there's a size 2 wizard on the field, and it has double attack. I don't like it because if you call it size 2, size 1, and this card's on field, if you destroy the size 2, you have to pick either keep this really, really underwhelming size 3 on board or get rid of it and have the size 1, who's probably going to be underwhelming because it's a size 1 in the Magic world. So you're kind of, with the cost of them destroying 1 monster on your field, you lost 2. So I don't like it that much. I think it's useful in some ways. It's a great wall breaker, but I don't think you need a wall breaker when Tempest Wing exists. I don't know. I don't care for the card.
What about Mary Sue?
Mary Sue is, of course, a really good card. It's just greater with Andy now. Being able to call Mary Sue for 1 gauge is absolutely ridiculous. And having the 4 crit field. And then Mary Sue says, by the way, I add Abracadabra. So the fact you can add an Abracadabra right afterwards is just like, and you have enough gauge because you did get to conserve 1 more gauge than usual. If you had Andy on field, okay, then I'll just go for a link attack for 4, do burn with Stradivarius, 5 damage in a turn. That's stupid.
Jill, let's not forget my bane of existence.
Oh, great spell, my grandfather clock. Great spell, my grandfather clock is pay 2 gauge. It's 6 different wizards in a drop. You get another turn.
My bane of existence, including Chillax being the wizard that doesn't say wizard.
No, it's not Chillax. That's no, it's Kosher. Kosher is a wizard. It was It's an errata. It does have wizard attribute, but it was not originally printed.
Yeah, Kosher has wizard attribute, but it doesn't say it.
I mean, it's sort of like how Tempest Wing and a few other Dungeon World cards were printed wrong, like how Orso Client has Demon Lord attribute, but he's not a Demon Lord, just an adventure.
Man.
They had a few problems when it came to set 3, but either way, this just like Matt Wizards got a pretty decent boost, but not as much as 70 fucking 2 pillars. Okay.
Trial deck time.
Yeah, trial deck does come around at the same time, so Asmodai deck is stupid. Actually good. Actually good.
That's what he means
You
by stupid.
so uh, like you have Dance Asmodai, which is basically you're a Will Glass art. It's a size 2 Will Glass art. It's like 3/2/2, size 2, but you don't have to deal damage. You pay a gauge and as soon as it enters the field, you draw a card. So you don't have to deal damage. You just already got it, which is really, really great. So it's a really good four of it. Just like 72s, or if you really think you need to draw another decks for some reason that badly, then this is really a great four of. Then there's the
Let's
other
play
like
Moda.
and for the Asmodai deck, I'm gonna go over this shiny Asmodai that allows you to basically recycle every Asmodai card back into your deck as many as you want. The impact that's basically Arcana Flash, but you can't be nullified except unless it's like Moonfang. Um,
Jalen, it's about time for the WWE.
we got Champion Wrestler Asmodai, which basically has eternal rolling backdrop where you can discard as many cards in your hand. You can destroy as many cards on the field equal to it. And it can be the same. You can destroy the same card multiple times, by the way. So you can say discard 3 cards, then destroy Seeger 3 times, or he has like 8,000 power, 2 critical, and 2,000 defense, 1,000 defense. I don't remember defense.
I don't remember neither. But who cares about the fence? We
I
have an 8-2.
Yes. So Champion Red Asmodai is definitely a pretty good card. I think he also costs 2 gauge to call, but that's not that bad. I think. Then we've got regular Demon Realm Asmodai. I don't I don't know how to don't
Demon
remember
Lord
his.
Asmodai.
It was Lord, damn it. Demon Lord Asmodai, where you just discard a backdrop. You just backdrop. You discard a card, destroy a
Jalen,
monster.
but hold on, Jalen. What about Let's Play Asmodai?
Also, there is Let's Play as Modai, which is basically the equivalent of a Tsukikage Blade Master mode. Instead of gaining a crit, this card gains you a life if there's a Asmodai in your drop zone. And it's a 5/1/1. It's the exact same stats as a regular Asmodai.
Yep.
Um, and then I think there's one more Asmodai. Oh yeah, super tough Asmodai. I don't want to talk about it though. It's garbage. So there's a ton of Asmodai cards to work with. So the Asmodai deck itself is great. Okay, then we have Demon Lord like Amon. I mean, where
Sky Poet.
sorry, Sky Poet Amon, 6/3/1, size 2. Way too stupid because Solomon's Great Bear, aka dumbest set spell in 72 pillars, where it allows all 72 pillar size 2s to turn into size 1s. You can basically call 3 of these, do 9 damage, and if you have a gun rod, that's GG.
No, Jalen. Just call 3 Great Duke Astaroth on field if you have the gauge.
You do not have 9 gauge. No one does. No one is going to have 9 fucking gauge and 3 Astaroths in hand and a Solomon's Great Barrier. Actually, you would need 10 gauge because you need a gauge for the Solomon's Great Barrier. That is not possible. Okay, let's talk about actual plays you can do in one turn, which is call 3 of that. Also,
True.
and also one of the dumbest things you can summon with Solomon's Great Barrier is now you can abuse the Gendro Saki clone they have.
Oh yeah, that too.
And it's basically a 4/2/2, 72 pillar, size 2. But you can call 3 of these. So imagine an Abracadabra that costs 2, a Bassin Caps that costs 1 gauge, a completely out of the world free nice one. You might as well just gain gauge with all those cards on the field. You have a like practically near free Saturday Night Devil Fever. You have just so many endless options that you can now do because you don't
Hey,
constantly
look,
engage
is
for
that
your
a
spell.
Hey, look, is that a oops I see? I'll cast it for 1
Oh, look,
gauge.
free oops. You could, or you could have 2 on field, and then you cast it for free.
That too. Oh wait, doesn't Solomon Great Bear? Wait, isn't there like a searcher for Solomon's Great Bear in 72?
Oh yes, there is also a set spell searcher where you pay 1 gauge and you add any set spell from Magic World into your hand. Pay 1 gauge, and it's a 3 1 something. I don't remember. But yes, there's a set spell searcher too. So this 72 pillars is great. 72 pillars
Oh
is
wait,
great.
and then there's that card that
Um,
bounces itself back to a hand.
they also got another great spell that was awful. Um, but
Hold
pretty
on.
much they got lots of good support.
Yeah. So I
Too much to name.
I will rate this deck a solid 8 out of 10.
My biased 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for Magic World. Now we get on to the last two, which are the Dragon Worlds of the game. We've got Darkness Dragon World.
Which variant?
Darkness Dragon World is way too big to talk about every single deck. So we're gonna say Purgatory Knights, Death, and Deep. Simple as that.
Okay. Okay.
Those are actually the divisions. Black Dragons aren't their own deck. They're part of Death anyway.
Okay.
Um,
Let's start
Purgatory
off with
Knights, since this is a set 5 basic deck.
hint hint. This is also a deck I'm making.
Yes, so Devlon, if you want to take this cake.
Okay. Purgatory Knights is basically rush and beat your opponent in, but the cost of of monsters that you have to kill to benefit from them. For example, Damio Sword Dragon, basically one of the main heart and soul of the deck right there. Basically you have to kill a monster to stand him back up and swing in for two again. And the best thing about him, he's free. Everything about him is free, which Jalen did not believe earlier until now.
6'2", 6'2", 3 size 2 leader that is free. Cool. Like Fawn's 1 gauge. The Blue Sky Knight's one is useless because he's a size 3 and he costs 2 gauge. And then this one's just like, hi guys, I'm free. I'm free. I'm size 2. And I got more power than Fawn. And I'm free.
Oh man. And
I
then
can
there's the
restand. I go attack, my buddy attacks, then I kill my buddy off, then I restand, then I attack, and then another buddy attacks, then I restand, and they die, and I attack again, then I attack with 3-crit weapon and win.
Okay. Here we go. And then there's another. And then there's the other one. If you don't have Demios, there's the second option, Gyrum Lance, which is just as good, and also free. Also free. And guess
What
what?
is this, free day?
Guess what? He's a size 2 that turns into a size 1. If your buddy's a
As
person,
long as you have Purgatory Knights as your buddy.
his size is reduced by 1. Basically, you can have him and Demios in the field in the same time if you wanted to.
Stupid.
But basically, what he does is counter ability at any time you can kill one of your Purgatory Knight monsters, and he gets an extra crit for the turn. So he's basically.
You only use it once per turn. But Damios is not once per turn.
Oh man, they might change his errata.
Oh no, they wouldn't fuck him up that badly. And second of all, then there's also the weapon, if we haven't already said it. It's basically Dragon Wing, but it's more
Yeah, it's called Purgatory. It's called Purgatory Blade Fatal. It's a 4/2 weapon for 1 gauge, and its ability. When one of your Purgatory Knight monsters die due to an ability, I believe, this card gets an extra crit. So combo that with Gyron Lance, you just got an extra crit there and an extra crit there. So for that potential 4 crit damage right there just turned into a 6 crit damage, with even higher damage output.
well then.
And let's not forget the 1000 Rapier clone that we gained. Well, technically it's not, and technically it's better. But it's a promo, unfortunately. But it is really good as a 4-up, and it's a definite 4-up for Purgatory Knights. Purgatory Knights Troubadour Dragon, if you don't know the name. He's a 6/2/2 that cannot be called to the center, and he's free. So basically, like I said again, Jalen, it's free day.
Everything's free. Why do they even have a Why do they even have a Thunder Formation that's broken as shit? Literally, they have a Thunder Formation where it's a song, and it goes like this: if a Purgatory Knight is destroyed by a card effect, oh god, why is that the wording? If it's destroyed by a card effect, that means your opponent's or yours. You get to gain a gauge.
Let's not forget. Hey, wait, Jalen. Let's not forget the Glory Seeker effect.
Oh yes, you can get rid of this. It costs like no gauge.
Oh
You
man.
get rid of the set spell, and basically top. You go top deck. It's a spell. Okay, I'm at 2 life. It's not 3, but I'm still alive. I shouldn't be alive, but I am. But if it's not a spell, I die.
Should I?
Sad face. But
There's one more spell I want to go over. Purgatory Knight
yep.
Be Eternal. Actually, it's two more spells. This is just one of them. Purgatory Knight Be Eternal. Pay 1 gauge
Hmm.
and deal 1 damage to yourself. No life break like Black Revenger. No life break like any of the life break cards. And you can use it anytime. Just pay 1 gauge and deal 1 damage to yourself. Kindly grab 2 Purgatory Knight monsters from your drop zone and add them to your hand.
I'm sorry. What?
Jayla didn't hear
Sorry.
that.
What? I'm sorry. I have to play Black Revenger. Like, why is that fair? Why? Why? Why?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. And another card that supports them. Actually, oh man, there's a lot of. Okay, I'm just gonna go over this one last one. There is another good one, but I want to go over this one instead. Um, even Hellflame is lukewarm. It might not sound good, but it actually is like a pretty decent card. You can only cast this card when your opponent basically when you're dealt damage during your opponent's turn. Draw 1 card. If you have a Purgatory Knight's monster in your field, draw another card.
No. Purgatory Knight's card.
Oh, Purgatory Knight's card, but technically all the monsters have the name, and no spell has the name or item. Because Purgatory Blade Fatal, not even a Purgatory Knight's card. Purgatory Knight.
I'm pretty sure the set spell has Purgatory Knight song.
Oh, Purgatory Song.
It's just Purgatory song, not Purgatory Knight song.
That's a sideboard card, in my opinion, for Seeger.
Oh, the other set spell. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not a Purgatory Knight's card. That's called Crush That Body and Support Me.
Oh yeah.
And the Searcher is called Purgatory Knight. They don't have the S at the end like the actual card says.
Okay. Either way, also there is a spell from that has a promo that came on promo pack 5 where it's Arise from the fuck, I don't remember the rest of it.
Arise, Knights of the Blood Oath. Pay 2 gauge and destroy
Arise Knight Blood Oath. You pay 2 gauge, destroy Purgatory Knight, and you add a Purgatory Knight from your deck to your hand.
This is an option. In my opinion, I say this is an optional card to play.
I say it's optional if you feel like your set spell gives you enough gauge and you don't use that much in your deck. Go ahead and play this like a 2.
If you feel you don't need the cards, I say
if you feel like you don't need it, don't use it.
Yeah. Should I talk about Purgatory Song just because Seeker's a thing?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Purgatory Song, Home Weather Curses is another set spell for Purgatory Knights. More of a sideboard card in my opinion. But basically what this card does is if you have a Purgatory Knights monster in your field, a monster in your opponent's center gets minus 2,000 defense.
Seeker gets raped.
But Jalen, do you want to know something I learned from this card?
What?
You can stack it.
Exactly.
So stack two of these minus 4 Seeker.
Like a -4 defense on a Seeger. It would be like getting slapped around by like a fucking that freaking perfect pack card. It's even 3/1/3. It's just like hit it, hit it, hit it. Like what? Why is Seeger getting punched by a size 1 in the face? And then it's like, and then the worst part is you just have like something along the lines that even if you have 1 on board, now all your monsters have enough threshold to hit that. And then it's like, okay, I evolved into Spartan. Okay, I'll just activate another one. Now you're fucked.
Oh, Jalen, stack 3. The first thing is form is at 1,000 defense. Your size zeros can kill it.
That's sad.
Oh my gosh.
Man, that card should not be able to stack.
I didn't see anything about it. You can play only one.
But enough about the Purgatory Knight support cards, other than just Demios and Galian lands. In Troubadour.
There's a halberd
I mean,
dragon.
we have Mad Halberd Dragon. We have Crossbow, who's basically an El Quixote size zero. We have um.
We have all the other useless ones that I don't give a crap about. Cruel Command,
Okay,
Blood
true.
Axe.
Okay, true. The rest of the ones are all just meh.
They're meh or crap, so there's no need to talk about them. Mad Halberd,
All right.
yeah, I say Mad Halberd you can talk about, but it's over. So
Which is
let's just
just basically Halberd Dragon gets moved when you have Purgatory Knights.
so let's just
Um,
move on to death.
all right, Death. Now we already had Death before, but now Death is super supported now, like really supported. Like it got the most support of everything in the entire set, which is something I did not expect.
Oh, Jalen, I'm just gonna say something real quick, and we're just gonna let the viewers remind them of something that we're gonna talk about later. I'm just gonna say pain field and basically leave that for later.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. We have a 302 Spectre Strike 2 card. Never get this out of your pulls. If you get this out of your pull in the box, you're gonna be upset.
No,
This
Jalen,
card is not.
just to be fair, it's 303.
Oh god. Either way, it's zero crit. Don't play it ever, 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 ever.
Guys,
Um,
just so you don't
and then
know,
we
it's
have the most memorable death. Then we have the most memorable death cards that did even come in set 5. We already have Death Gauge Dragon. If you don't know what this does by now, Spectre Strike 2, critical 1, 6,000 power, 1,000 defense, and size 1. And you just Spectre Strike 2 when you destroy a monster, deal 2 damage. Um, then there's Gallows, Death Roar Gallows, where you pay a gauge to call him, and if he he has Shadow Dive, where he can ignore the center and attack the opponent directly. So once he deals damage, then you can gain a life, which is really really great. Um, then we have the other Death Rulers that have Shadow Dive, where Ephialtis, Burial, Abriel, so on and so forth. Even the one crits like what's his name, Cremation. But then we got other things that come in set 5, like Death Ward Mastermind, which allows you to call them from the drop, and he's got a call cost to pay 1 gauge, so you can call one from the drop. Then there's a set spell that allows you to call them, but they come at rest, and it only happens if they're destroyed. Um, so so you would have to use something like Devil Stigma to use this well, but it won't help because it does cost a gauge to get the monsters, and you still have to pay the call cost. So Gallows getting it back would still cost you a gauge, and this set spell itself would cost a gauge. So, and you do have to also get another monster, so that could come into account. There's a bunch of reasons why this isn't exactly broken, but it's still pretty good. Um, in Deaths, you just got a bunch of cards. We've got the older cards such as Evil Death Scythe. You have most of the spells like Death Grip, of course. You have just about everything that's been in Darnish Dragon World, Abyss Symphony, other things. Just almost everything's a death card.
Does Midnight Shadow count as death?
I am not exactly sure if Midnight Shadow is a death card.
Or is it just deep in the fence?
I think it's just deep in defense. I will grab my Darkness Dragon World deck and
No, allow me to grab my incomplete Darkness Dragon World deck.
no, it's okay. I've already got it.
I've already got it too. It is Death in the Fence.
Yep, it's deaf in defense, not deep in defense.
Oh, then never mind. Then I guess I was talking about Black Dragon.
So pretty much everything in Darnish Dragon World so far has already been a deaf card, and since there are cards that have come out that do help with just cards being deaf, or like just deaf in general, just like they don't have to be black dragons, they don't have to be deaf rulers, they can work together in tangent. So this card can like, yeah.
How about that Demonic Strike Arts Death Requiem?
Oh, Death Requiem. Yeah, that's definitely not a death card, right? Oh, but it's a great impacts. You can work with the great monsters. And there's a bunch of other death cards, but there's so many to list that it would just hurt to talk about so many of them.
Yeah, that's
we already said Mastermind. We already talked about the set spell. So I don't think there's anything else to primarily go over. And now we can move on to Deep. Deep is another one that's full of cards that have already come out, like
You said
full
deep?
death sight and such.
Hold on, Jalen. You said deep?
Hmm.
Let me see. That's an Abyss Symphony. That's a Guillotine Cutter. That is a. Let me keep continuing. That's a Guillotine Cutter. That's a Abyss Symphony. That is a. Nah, that's not that. Well, that's the only two I have on me. So.
But Deep is definitely been around a little bit, but not as much. There are the Hell Knights where they even got a Thousand Rapier clone. They've got size zeros that are basically Fate Skeleton. They've got a few things that make them a little um um just a little bit like other decks so far, but they also have their own support. I don't think they're good enough to be their own deck.
J
They do have a really good size 3 that came that is pretty interesting. It doesn't have Soul Guard, but it does
uh,
have the what?
If I'm not mistaken, I think if not all, most of the Death Rulers are deep.
Um, yes, most of pretty
It
much
was
I think
already.
all the Death Rulers are the,
Yeah, technically deep was a deck before we even realized it.
but it didn't have enough to call itself a deck and nothing that said deep cards. Unlike now, where they have a size 3 where you can basically get all the deep cards from your drop zone, put it into its soul. It costs 4 gauge to call it. It's 10,000 power, 3 critical, and 4,000 defense. It basically goes if it would leave the field or if it gets attacked, you can nullify the attack by removing 3 cards from soul. It cannot have soul guard, so you cannot ultimate buddy this thing when it has like a billion soul. And instead of going to the drop zone, the cards will go to the bottom of your deck in any order you want. This card's decent, good. I don't know what to say because it costs
This
way too
card,
much gauge.
if you
Way
actually
too.
put it off, you have a card that will not die for a long time. That's all I can say.
Yes, and it does have 3 critical, so it can sustain a good amount of damage if you keep it around for a long time. So
Depends on how
the
much deep cards you stack up, though.
hmm so this is definitely a really good late game card. Definitely like a 2 of if you want to play deep. But Deep itself has already gotten like just already cards itself, so there's not really much to say for what Deep is full of. It's already been here. It's just a little bit more omnificent with cards. So now we can move on to the end of Darkness Dragon World, and Darkness Dragon World, in my verdict, is 8.5 out of 10.
I actually say
Um, so now we can move on to the last world and everyone's least favorite world for some reason. What do I mean for some reason? Everyone doesn't like it.
the
Dragon
most
World.
the most supported world for no goddamn reason.
It's not the best world though. Definitely not the best.
Yeah, it's the most supported, and it's no reason to it.
All right. Darkness Dragon World has so many archetypes. Oh my god, I hate
I
having to
don't
do this.
want to
We
go
have
over
Blue Sky.
times. Do you really want to go
We
over
have
all
to.
times? God damn
There's so
it!
much we have to. Blue Sky Knights, Thunder Knights,
Jack Knight,
generic. Okay, we're not using generic armor dragons. Not doing that.
thank you.
Dragon Knights, Jackknife.
Shinsengumis.
I already said Thunder Knights, Shinsengumi, and
You already said Blue Sky Knights.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to think. Like this is Dragon Roll we're thinking of. All right, that's it. We
What's
got
next?
like
What's
6
next?
decks.
Wait, what's next, Jalen? Super Armor Dragon deck?
Let's not talk about that. Actually, that's a thing. We actually would have to talk about that.
No. Pretend I didn't. Pretend you didn't hear anything.
No. It's only on stream, man. You can't take that back.
Viewers, pretend that you didn't.
No. We got to talk about it now. We're gonna talk about it first, because this is the first time we've ever gotten anything new for Dragon World that can come up. We've got Super Armor Dragons. Super Armor Dragons. I know. General Boldness basically allows the Super Armor Dragon deck to be itself, where it goes like put two size 3s in your soul from your hand. It's 747. We already gone over this, but God, it's annoying. It's got Soul Guard, of course. It's got Move, which is irrelevant, which is relevant at the same time, irrelevant, irrelevant.
I mean, if you're
And
playing weapons, it's relevant.
yeah, and it is Dragon World, so an open center, Dragon Shields, Dragon Shield, Dragon Shield, and Dragon Shield.
Like they need 81
um,
shields. Like they don't have 20 of them.
Either way, darn, I mean, Dragon World. Oh fuck. Just Super Armor Dragon decks. I would recommend. Galvanic Feather. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Hold on, can I do it? Can I do it? Galvanic
Yeah,
Feather.
go ahead.
Hold on, Galvanic Feather. Effing. Do you want to put Volverize in there?
Go Volverize. Go Volverize. You have enough gauge in this deck.
Volverize. Do you really want to go with the old school Buster Cannon Dragon?
We could.
Alright, Buster Cannon Dragon. Who else is there? Freaking.
There's also like yeah, General Boldness. I think that was and then you just run like the generic like generic dragon stuff you want to run like that. The size 1, size 2s, like regular drum you can run, and then you can play in combo with Super Armor Dragon, Drum Breaker Dragon, who's actually a pretty good card.
On the scene.
If you haven't seen him in the show already, you already know he has 3 crit penetrate, 7,000 power, 4,000. I think it was 4,000. No, 5,000 defense. And
No,
you have the
rare.
card on top of it.
No, look, he's rare. He has the ability to move outside before the battle phase. During the main phase, he can move.
Yeah, and you can move into battle phase, yes, penetrate and soul guard, all for 1 gauge and put it on top of a drum card. If you put this on top of a regular drum, though, you can have 2 soul and soul guard. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. 2 gauge, and then you get like a 2 gauge, and you get a 7/3/5 with move, soul guard, penetrate, and other move. This is a really, really good card. Underestimated because we don't have a lot of drum cards in Dragon World as of now. If we had the freaking troll deck, mushy.
Jalen, perfect back. Oh man, I wonder where that's came from.
We're only getting Fang Slay drum in there. We don't get any of the other ones.
Oh.
And that Fang Slay and it's dual wheel drum, and dual wheel drums are size 3.
Hey, still put him on top of it.
So basically, Super Armor Dragon deck is not good. Is not good deck as of now. Even in set 5, I think it's not going to be that good. Either way, I want you to talk about any of the next deck. I have to step out for a second.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about. Let's see, which one do I know the most? We're going to talk about. Let's say Thunder Knights. Yeah, Thunder Knights. Yeah, how generic can you get? But yeah, Thunder Knights basically is a move rush deck. So pretty much we're going to start off with Thunder Knights leader Commander Fawn. Fawn is a size 2, 5/3/5, if you don't know. Well, 5/2/5, never mind. Who can become a 5/3/5 automatically, basically, because of his own ability. He gives all your Thunder Knight monsters move and an extra crit, mostly the size 1s, I should say, because like Iron Fist and Thunder Knight's Drake Warrior. And so yeah, so he's a really good card. He helps with that damage. He helps increase the damage output, and he helps increase the defense with move. If you don't want to take any more like damage and stuff like that. Another good card for Thunder Knights is Draco Archer. If we're going to talk about Thunder Knights, we have Draco Archer. So pretty much Draco Archer is a Thunder Knights. If you call him to the field and you have another Thunder Knight, you draw 1 for free. So he's basically a +1 on board. And he's able to get you a free draw if you have a Thunder Knights on field. Really good card.
Well, I'm here on Thunder Knights. How many of you gone over so far?
I just went over Commander Fawn and Drake Watcher, the two most important ones.
Okay. So now we can get on to Thunder Knight's Drum. Thunder Knight's Drum move, penetrate Soul Guard, and you can optionally put a Thunder Knights in your soul. Pretty
Oh,
good.
what ability doesn't he have? Freaking double attack? Freak.
He doesn't have counterattack either.
Oh, that too.
Or equipment change.
Oh my gosh, shut up, man.
Or counter call him. Imagine you could counter call this thing. I don't know.
Hey, ground in formation.
Oh, shut up.
Oh man.
Dragon formation moves him. Counter calling him would be Dragonic Paratrooper.
Oh yeah, I get those two mixed up. I don't know why.
Oh man. But then there's Halberd Dragon 625. I mean 626. Sorry. Whatever. We know what the fuck he is.
The first Thunder Knights.
The first Thunder Knights came before all support. He was Thunder Knight before it was gay. Then there's Palash Sword, which is basically I don't need to deal with walls anymore. 614, and if you do have a Purgatory Knights, Thunder Knights on the field, then you don't have to pay gauge. You don't have to pay the gauge to call him, but he is normally pay one gauge.
What else is there? Oh, there is Thunder Knight
Iron
formation.
Fist. There's Iron Fist if you want to run it. I know. I'm just saying 223 size 1. If you have a Thunder Knights, it gets moved. Done.
I was just gonna go into the spell lineup with Thunder formation.
Blah! I get gauge for moving. Thank God, only during your opponent's turn, though. Like Jesus, they would abuse that shit.
And a little secret ability in the end. Yeah, I think it's during the final phase. No.
Yes, final phase is like an impact.
Yeah. So basically, you get rid of this card. Look at the top 3. If you get Thunder Knights from it.
Oh, you get rid of this card and pay 4 gauge.
Oh yeah, pay 4 gauge like Gargantuan Punisher, basically. Huh. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If there's a Thunder Knight within those 3, or any Thunder Knights, call them to the field by paying their call cost.
Also, you have to get rid of every monster on your field too. So you're basically risking it all.
Yeah, you're risking a biscuit.
And you get a second attack phase, which is a pretty interesting thing. Instead of just literally saying like all the monsters attack. Well, then again, then it would be like they would have to link attack if like they just said they all initiate attack. So I guess that's why they made a second attack phase for specifically that card.
True.
But pretty decent card. Just says you don't need an impact. You have this. This gets you to gauge. This is the impact. You don't need nothing else.
It's basically everything they need.
Yep, definitely for a rush deck. Then since they're moving so much and you can abuse during the end during the end of the main phase, you can use Full Drago Bond and just continuously save Fawn as you move him to the center. As you go during the end phase and use Drago Bond, then you move during the beginning of the attack phase, and then you basically say, "I suck up all hits."
Yep, basically. You
And
can do it with Fawn, you can do it with Halbert, or you can do it with any other
any monster move. If you have Fawn, it could be any of the size 1s you have and Fawn will give the move.
Yeah, pretty much. Is the weapon any good?
Thunderblade Drago Breaker, where the fuck it is like pretty decent. It's paid through gauge, and if there's a Thunder Knight's monster on your field, it gains an extra critical. So it's pretty much a easy to afford Descent of Thunder formation version of Drago Breach, so you don't have to pay a life. Or Drago Brave, you don't have to discard a card. So this card is a bit more affordable for Thunder Knights than most decks wouldn't say. Like 2 gauge for a weapon that's 5,000 would not seem like much, but for Thunder Knights it seems like a pretty good card. Also, I think that's just about it for the Thunder Knight specific cards, but of course the best cards to run in them are usually something along the lines of Dragon Barrier as well as Dragon Bear along with Drago Bond if you want so. Wrath of Dragon because these things are weenies, so Drago Archer won't always work. I mean, Drago Energy won't always work.
You call it Dragon Anthem because double attacking.
Double attacking the necessary power to help them hit like certain decks. See
Yeah,
here.
other than the two size twos they basically use. Actually, no, the three size twos they basically use. They're pretty much weenies.
Yeah, Palazzo Sword does help, but then like your Broadsword is 5,000, but like when it comes to hitting those numbers, you kind of need more than 5,000. Um, so Thunder Knights as an all is just a rush deck that's allowed to play defensive, which is just stupid, and then it has Dragon World levels of defense, which is dumber. So
Oh,
this deck is
Jalen, you mean the 25 freaking shields?
first of all, the Gold Shield only protects against is like is like a chillax that doesn't gain you life, but it is a chillax. And then you have two versions of Green Dragon Shield, which is stupid. And then you have Blue Shield, White Shield, and Red Shield's garbage.
Oh, never mind. Then 30 shields. You just put red shield in there. So that just made even
Yep.
more shields. You can play a total of
You're
30 shields when red shield comes out.
So basically, it's just Dragon World just has way too many nulls to, like compared to every other deck. There's not even another deck with just the same amount of nulls. Nowhere near. The most is three, and Dragon World has like fucking five.
6. Correction, 6.
Six, six. They have double of the most of other worlds have. Isn't that awesome?
Exactly.
All right, now let's get on to Jackknife. Okay, basically you got Burn Energy, which you don't need Dragonic Charge anymore. You got Jaeger, which gives you stupidly good damage output. You've got Savior, which is now allowing you to move, and it does have Soul Guard.
You got Thunderstorm,
Thunder,
which allows you to control the field for 2 life. Or actually,
and and it even allows you to go into Gold Ritter, which is your goddamn giant stupid late game, or you can even do this early game with Thunder Raid because you don't have to have a target on the board and all this kind of bullshit. Okay. You need like 4 cards in hand. You need either you need a base form. Doesn't even matter. It could be
Actually,
even Jackknife Dragon or Berserk.
Yeah, Berserker.
What?
The new base form, Berserker, for free.
Yeah, you could have Berserker, Jackknife Gift, Jackknife Thunderstorm, and Burn Energy all in your hand. All 4 of those. So basically, you call Berserker, then you call Burn Energy on top, then you call Thunderstorm on top. Pay Thunderstorm. Hopefully, you get a Jackknife and you already have a Jackknife in the drop. That's the only way you're going to be able to use the Jackknife Gift properly. Then you go Jackknife Gift, then you get the Jackknife in your drop, put it in the soul. You already have 3 soul now. Then you add a Jackknife Gold Ritter with Gift's ability, then Gift's effect. And if Berserk or Burn Energy or Thunderstorm, or if you had a regular Jackknife as your buddy and a buddy called, then you can do this more effectively. But if they weren't, this is still cool anyway. You Thunder Rage yourself for 6 life, all the way down to your 4th life, and then you can just go for Gold Ritter because you'll have enough gauge, and then bam, you got Gold Ritter first turn, go for 5 crit.
Oh,
so Gold Ritter is easy.
5 crit penetrate.
Yep, it has 5 crit penetrate, and if your opponent has to link attack to hit 10,000, then the damage reduced to 2. So since all damage will be reduced to 2, you can just go White Dragon Shield, and you basically nullified their attack. This weapon cannot be destroyed or returns to the hand.
Wait, Jayla, doesn't Go Ritter have something against Dragon Shields or something? Or am I thinking of Excalibur?
What? No, it's also treated as a size 3 armor dragon and Dragonite.
Oh, then never mind.
And what do you mean? And what do you mean? With Excalibur, Excalibur can cannot be nullified by cards with shield in the name, if that's what you mean.
Yeah. Never mind. I was getting those two mixed up again. I keep thinking Gold Ritter
Oh,
has the Excalibur ability, but then that would be too.
no. So basically, Gold Ritter is like Jackknife's win all beat all card, but the problem with Jackknife Ritter is one, the deck, if it becomes too reliant on this, then everything else in your deck is practically dead. When you do get it out, everything except Dragon Shields, Draco Energies, Calvary Academy, if you play it, are all dead. So pretty much your deck is just literally you waiting for you to draw into certain cards.
Jalen, here's another problem. Make sure all your Gold Ritters are not charged by burn energy.
uh, that's also true. You
Basically,
sometimes can't avoid that.
basically play Jaeger as a second plan B, just in case all your Gold Ritters get charged by a certain burn energy.
All right. Now we move on to Blue Sky Knights. Blue Sky Knights is super non-relevant fucking failed Thunder Knights bullshit. Blue Sky Knight's drum, garbage card. It was so garbage, even fucking Bushiroad didn't show him in the show.
Sky Knight's leader, Crimson Arrow.
827 size 3. Why are you a leader and you're a loner? That doesn't make any sense. And then
Yes,
he has penetrate, and if there's blue sky knights in your drop zone, you gain 1 life. Or is it 2 life? 2 life, I think. Yeah, 2 life. So and he's 827 penetrate size 3, like you said, 2 gauge.
and there's
Then we have Skull, slash Eagle. Yeah, Blue Sky Knight slash Eagle. 623.
and I think it has a better
Yeah,
base or ability.
623, and then it basically, if it's called and you do not have a center, then you gain a life. Then there's Slenge Shield. I mean Slenge Dragon. Blue Sky Slenge Dragon, and basically when same thing. He's a size 1 though with 411, and same ability as Slash Eagle. Basically, when you don't have a center, gain 1 life, and you call him on the left to right.
So basically, this is Life Gain Dragon World.
This is life gain Dragon World. If you the only way to use this deck effectively is using the green song, where every time you call an armor dragon, which these guys are, every time you call an armor dragon, you gain a life. And Blue Sky Knight's drum is 523, pay 1 gauge, and same thing like Thunder's drum, optional. Put a Blue Sky Knight's from your hand into the soul, and he has Soul Guard, an ability where if whenever he attacks, you gain 1 life. It's not like Gallows where it has to deal the damage. It's literally when you declare the attack, you will gain the life instantly. So it's kind of better. Well, probably most definitely better. This deck is basically, it's the opposite of Burn and a little bit more annoying because all it does is gain life to the point where you're not to be able to fucking do anything to their life. That, like, a good player of Blue Sky Knights can gain 12 life in a turn. I will
Um,
not tell you how because everyone will try it.
Hold on. All right, so off with the beasts, and now to the humans.
We have Dragon Knights, and they're great. They have one of the most godly sized 2 liners. They have Nobunaga, if you want to, Fly Dracula. They have Iwamoto. They have Rudel. They have
Their
Whitman. They
Hey, don't forget the signature card. Signature
like
card.
who?
El Quixote. That's their signature, buddy.
I was talking about their godly sized 2 lineup first.
Oh, El
4 crit
Quixote.
monster move size 2. Another monster move size 2. Burn with Rudel, 6 crit
Oh,
potential with Vlad Dracula.
what's his name? What's his name? Richard.
Yeah, Richard. Oh yeah, Richard being able to become an 8/8 with the right amount of cards in drop zone. Just lots and lots of great size 2s. Then we have the size 1s. We have Red Baron, the 4/11 move. Blah. Then we have El Quixote, where
Signature card.
one of the most signature cards of all Dragon World, even in general. 2/2/2, free to call, and whenever he deals a damage, you gain a gauge. Very great card. And we have Maximilian, who's shit. But basically, if you call him and there's a Dragonite in your hand, reveal it, put it in the gauge, and you draw a card. It gives you another charge and draw. But
And
he's
if we're talking
1/1/1, and he's a size 1. I hate him.
Jalen, should we talk about that other archetype since we're talking about size ones?
No, no, no. We're gonna say them a little bit separately. And then and also in set 5 they get 1,000 Rapier clone now. So yay for that. Then
They
we've
get
also
no, Jalen. They get an Indian. They get an Indian. That's what they get.
they get, and then they also get Hyperion, Cavalry Dragon Hyperion, 7/2, pay 2 gauge. Whenever it destroys a monster or deals damage to your opponent, you get to gain a gauge. What the fuck?
Wait, Jalen,
Why does this card pay for itself?
hold on, Jalen. Why go straight to weapons? Why not go to their godly size 3 lineup?
Oh, we have Napoleon, which goes, ha ha ha. I call it size 2 and I call it a size 0.
Yep. Then you have Spartacus.
Oh
Spartacus.
God.
Spartacus.
You can talk about Spartacus.
Actually, honestly, I don't remember what he does exactly. I just know that he's good.
Oh man, Spartacus is not I'm not actually familiar with Spartacus anymore. I don't remember him even ever since our set 5 review.
All I
But
remember
I'm pretty
is
sure
936.
all I remember is he had some kind of effect with other size 3s, I think, or Dragonites. It was something I don't remember.
All right,
Oh man,
skip him to the original size 3 Geronimo.
Geronimo. We have a card that is completely relying on its power being from your drop zone, but that's really great anyway. Soul Guard, put the top card of your deck into the soul, and it costs 3 gauge, and against 1,000 for every Dragonite in your drop zone. Dragonites even count for spells such as the night energies and shit. So really, really great card. Double attack to critical. Definitely a really great card still.
Wait,
Then we have the newest promo, which allows you to when you have Dragonites in the drop, I think you add one back to your hand or
uh,
so. I don't remember.
didn't Dragonites get a size 2 or size 1? I don't know which size it was, but it's a Dragonite that puts cards into your drop zone. That puts Dragonites into your drop zone to set up
Oh
your
yeah,
drop.
yeah. So there is a card in set 5 where you look at your gauge and any Dragonites from among them, you put them in a drop zone, and then you gain back the top card of your decks into the gauge equal to the amount that you sent to the drop. So you basically get to dump more stuff in your drop and keep the same amount of gauge.
And you get to get information of what's not in your deck.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really great. A legal way of looking at your gauge. That's great.
And it's really handy. Alright, so you talked about Hyperion, you
And then
talked
there's a 5/2, and then there's a 5/2 5 size 2 move. There. Now we can get on the Shinsengumis, which is the other attribute
wait, Jalen,
within Dragonites.
actually, Jalen, before you
What?
get to Shinsegamis, let's talk about the broken draw power impact.
Oh yeah, yeah. Glorious Legacy, or I'm pretty sure that's how it is. If there's 5 or more, not even different, 5 or more Dragonites in your drop zone, you pay 2 gauge, you draw 3 cards. Simple as that. Stupid.
Easy.
You can only activate one of these impacts per turn though.
Alright, now we can go to Shinsegamis, which is talk about the rest of the size 1 lineups.
Shinsengumis, which is pretty much super art Dragonite rush deck, size 1s. Kondo, pretty much they're all size 1s. Kondo, make everything gain crit. Soshi, your Iwamoto clone, exactly. Just for Shinsengumis. There's a there's a Drago Wizard medium clone, which is 2/2/2, but then it becomes 4/2/2. Then there's a card that gets Wolf Amiibo for 3 gauge and puts it back in your hand. Wolf Amiibo is basically 5/5/5/5. For these weenie monsters, they're all weenies. +5/+5 counterattack.
Oh,
Then
we shouldn't forget this. There's I think it's set 5. It's a new Shinsegumi that searches for other Shinsegumis for 2 gauge.
No, it's not set 5. That's perfect pack.
Oh, never mind. Rewind that one.
Per the then there's also as of now there's
Oh,
Shinsen Kumi.
the one that gets +2/+2.
I already said that. There's the 514 vanilla, and I think that's just about all of them. So then and that's all their spells too. We already said all their spells. They're pretty much just a bigger rush deck than Dragon Knights, and they can
Let's
abuse
see.
guys in your hand a little better. They
Wait,
they can even work with like Burning Bow or something.
hey Jalen, what about other impact dual moving force? Want to talk about that?
Oh yes, dual moving force where if you once you've dealt damage with a weapon during that turn, you basically can you go into final phase, you dual moving force, you pay 2 gauge, you your opponent takes 2 damage and you gain 2 life. So imagine something of the sort where you go, okay, I went for damage with my Drago Anthem once, then twice. Now I go into final phase, then I deal 2 more damage, so they're taking 4 damage that turn, and I gain an additional 2 life, all for simply 2 gauge. Pretty nice, pretty nice.
Two is the magic number of that card.
Exactly. So Shinsengumi, pretty good. Now I think we were almost about done. I don't think we actually did miss a deck in Dragon World.
We started off for Super Armor Dragon, we went to Thunder Knights, we went to Jack Knights, we went to Blue Sky Knights, we went to Dragon Knights, and we went to Shitsugumis. We are not doing generic. I'm not staying for fucking generic.
I didn't plan to do generic, and I don't want to. All right, I think that was just about everything for Dragon World.
Yeah, that was pretty much
Oh God, someone had to ask. By the way, the by the way, verdict on Dragon World. If it wasn't for all the shields, they would be most likely like a 5. But thanks to the amount of defense they have and they steal the world's bonus nullifier they never create a clone of, Blue Dragon Shield, I'd have to say Dragon World gets it like a 7.1 out of 10.
For me, I'll just say a regular. If it wasn't for the defense, I would have said I would have said 4 out of 10. But you know, I'm gonna be nice and say 7 out of 10.
Alright, and we were going to plan to cut out the stream right about here, but now someone asked this question. How do you think Hero World will do?
They need some more support.
Too
That's all I
early,
can
too
say.
early to tell. Too early to tell. We're not going to give our whole verdict on a world where we only know at most 7 cards, I think.
Hold on, what you call it? They need more support. They need to have like more cards that help them out and stuff, in my opinion.
What I think for Hero World, I think they need more cards with more crit, and then I'll see if I want to do a whole if we can even talk about them. Ah,
Any more questions? Just drop them down in the comment section below, and we'll be able to answer them.
well, please, if you do not have any more questions, please tell us because we could be just done here.
I would like to sleep. Thank you very much.
Yes, we were going to bring you this, even though none of our guests showed up, or even Justin did show up, but he had to go, unfortunately. But we are human beings just like you and me and him and all that in the fourth. We just, if you don't have any more questions, please tell us. So we don't want to leave you guys. We don't just want to just get away from you. We just this was like nearly 3 hours of just two of us reviewing what we think of a world. Imagine if we had more guests and we had to talk about each person's personal view on each world and shit.
Legit, I would stay with you guys if I was a vampire, but no, I'm a human. I'm sorry. I need my sleep. I need my food.
Well, we are not getting any more comments, so and we only have 2 viewers anyway. So, for any of you still watching, we thank you all for making it out to the stream tonight. If you did enjoy the stream, please leave a like down in the comment section below. If I mean, please leave a like on the stream if you did enjoy. Comment down below what you thought of it and what your evaluation of the world would be.
And subscribe to
From a scale from 10,
YouTube videos. This is
from
from
all of
all
us.
members. So thank you very much. We feel honored to be on the stream. Well, I feel honored because I haven't been on for a while to be on the stream.
And remember, guys, all TBI members are just as important on this channel. Don't think one's better than the other in terms of skill or well. Okay, now I'm making this a little awkward. I'm just going to start shutting off the stream here.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.